working those jobs that I've worked, I've realized, like, I hate working for people, and half the time I'm, like, working my hardest and not getting anything in return, and it's like people who are half-assing the job are just, like, going up, and, you know, and it's just like, this is
Isn't that
backwards.
funny how that works?
Yeah, this is so backwards, and I'm not with it, so...
I think that's the, like, the unsaid benefit when you are an entrepreneur. It's like people talk about, oh, the money, the fame, and all this other stuff, but it's just freedom. Like,
That's
freedom
exactly.
to do what you want and to get the
Exactly.
returns on the investment of time and energy that you put into it.
I really feel like that's the dream.
Yeah.
Not even just like having the wife and kids or what, you know, whatever that like looks like in your life, and
the
like the
American
house
dream,
and like the white picket fence or whatever that bullshit is.
Yeah.
I think it's more just like, because like you're
Financial
saying,
freedom.
financial freedom. Because like, yes, we are free in America, but like, are we really free?
Right.
Like, there's all these like little things.
Money
that
rules
pull
everything.
it down. Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome back, everyone, to another installment of Bindlism, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. On this week's podcast, Kyle and I interviewed the one and only Olivia Luciani. Olivia is the owner and creator of the shoe customization and restoration brand Laced by Liv. Olivia is originally from Syracuse, New York, but started her entrepreneurship journey in 2015 when she was in school at Buffalo State. Through our talk, we discovered the path Olivia took through trial and error to become a full-time working entrepreneur. She currently designs shoes for WNBA stars, including local legend Breanna Stewart of the Seattle Storm. Laced by Liv has become a local staple for shoe customs and restorations, but has also slowly begun to gain some national attention. We are beyond grateful to share Olivia's story with you, and we hope you enjoy episode 35 with Olivia Luciani.
Should I put my water down because it's branded?
No, that's fine.
Fuck. Dasani.
All right, no, that's good.
No sponsor. Just tape over it.
All right, cool. So we're here with Olivia Luciani for episode 35.
Maybe 34? Who cares?
I said 35 before.
I think it's 35. Yeah, damn. Time flies. And we're here to talk about her awesome project, which she'll talk about in a second. Well, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone and kind of let everyone know who you are, what you do, and then we can kind of get into...
So I'm Olivia Luciani, like you said. I own Laced by Liv, which is a custom sneaker business based out of Syracuse, New York.
Awesome.
How old are you right now?
26.
Okay. And when did you start this?
4 years ago, I started it in college, but
Okay.
then I went full-time last year. So I took a break after I graduated for 2 years, worked full-time 2 years, and then realized, like, this is what I want to be doing. So I saved up my money, quit my job, and then pursued this full-time.
Wow.
So what were you doing prior to this
Working
project?
at Nike. Retail.
Where?
In Niagara Falls.
Okay. So they have like a full just Nike store there? Okay, and you're just like a retail associate, basically?
Footwear specialist, they categorized me as. But
so what were your like job duties in that position?
basically just bring the customer from start to finish, like try to get them in the best suitable shoe for their needs and make sure they have a positive experience while doing so.
Awesome. So were you interested in like footwear to begin with prior to that job?
Yeah, since I was a little kid, I always wanted like the best Jordans and Air Forces. That was like my shoe back to school. So
Awesome.
I've always been into sneakers.
Yeah. What was the first shoe that like put you on to just like...
Well, I would just say Air Force Ones were huge back in the, like, you could go to Foot Locker back in the day and they would have, like, every colorway. But, so that was just, like, my favorite. But then I got into Jordans, which now they're re-releasing, and I had back when I was little, so.
Yeah.
Were you in the game with all, like, the flipping buying shoes and then flipping it for cash?
No, that
You were
was
more
never
in the
me.
like the design of it.
Yeah, I just liked what I liked. But flipping that resale game that's pretty new.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I'm really like unfamiliar
It's-
with it. The whole
yeah.
They
culture.
started like re-releasing like Jordans and stuff, and people realized that like they could make a lot more
Yeah.
because they would sell out
The
really
value
quick.
will increase.
If you buy it buy a bunch in a certain like shoe size, say like a 10.5, like something like the average size for a guy, if you just bought up a bunch of them, you could just resell them for more online because like they ran out.
And
So, like-
Jordan is like they support that.
No.
No, they don't.
No, but like it's become such a thing that people open their own stores and
Oh, wow.
have resell value shoes basically. So stuff that's released and the value's increased and they sell it for that increased value. So
Yeah.
whereas a Foot Locker can't do that. They have to sell it for retail.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those people are like actively actually like buying it with their money and then reselling it in their store.
Which there's a lot of money in it. It's just
yeah.
it pisses people off who are true collectors and actually want to wear the shoe, and there's this like little rich kid who's buying 20 pairs when somebody actually really wants to wear
Wear
them
it.
and he's
Oh,
just
true.
selling them.
Yeah. And it's such an interesting like I don't know if you want to call it a fad, but I guess it's like an industry now of
Yeah.
just resale.
It 100% is.
But it's like I know friends who are shoe collectors, but they wear the shoes, and then there's other people who buy them and they never come out of the box, and I'm like, you're like defeating the whole purpose of the
Yeah,
shoe at this
right.
point. Like,
There's some people who do both. They'll buy one to rock, one to stock. So one that they never touch that'll increase. And there's money. Like I know people who have like bought houses because from their sneakers. Yeah. So
it's insane.
yeah, it really is crazy.
I don't know. I mean, I guess like anybody could get into that game if they wanted to. Like, granted, they know the right things to do, but I
But
don't
even
know.
that's becoming so
It's super
oversaturated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say it's pretty saturated at this point. Like if you're trying to get in the game now, it's like maybe it's kind of
There's too many people,
For
yeah.
You. Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably want to spend my money in a different way.
Yeah.
Personally, obviously, I'm not a shoe collector, so
Yeah.
So to backtrack a little bit, you were saying that you started this when you were in college.
Yeah.
What college did you go to?
Buffalo State.
Okay.
Played
and-
basketball there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So-
What do you major in?
Communications. I switched my major 5 times actually.
oh shit.
Pretty
yeah.
indecisive.
Can you take us through the?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
what
okay,
did
we'll
that look
backtrack
like?
even further to high school. So, like, since 5th grade, I wanted to be an architect. That's just what I had my mind set on.
Like building houses or like
Designing them.
just any building.
Yeah, any building I was
Okay.
fascinated with. So, high school came, senior year came, junior year, really, applying for colleges. My art teacher lost my portfolio.
Oh shit.
Yeah, they were like redoing they were doing something of the art room and my portfolio got lost somewhere. So,
Shit.
yeah, they couldn't find it. We had to go all the way to the school board, everybody, like through every step we could take to get somebody to try to find it, and they never found it. So I had to, you need a portfolio to apply for
Right.
architecture school.
So was this like your portfolio of all of high school?
Everything.
And this was your
Everything.
senior year?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So,
It's a nightmare.
yeah, so I just made the decision to go to Buff State for 1 year, I planned.
So because they lost your portfolio, you couldn't get into architecture.
I couldn't even
school?
apply.
Oh wow.
Because yeah.
Okay.
So,
God damn.
I'm like, I'm going to focus on just going to Buff State for 1 year. The coach had contacted me for basketball and everything, so I'm like, all right. But my mom was like, go in with an open mind, you might like it. And I ended up loving it. But because I was so set on architecture, they didn't have that. They had interior design. So I went with that. And then the first day, the teacher's like, if your heart is 100% in this, leave now. You're going to spend thousands of dollars. You're going to be up in the middle of the night at the studio. And I'm like, okay, no. So
Scared. You're
yeah.
Like, not trying
and they
to do
said we
that.
couldn't play like sports.
Oh.
So I'm like, no. So that was my first one. My first major. It was literally for like a week. And then I switched to health and wellness. Then I switched to independent studies. Then I switched to social work. And then I switched to communications.
Was this all within the first year of college?
No, this was throughout.
Okay.
What drew you to communications?
I felt like that was the only thing I hadn't tried. But just I'm a very outgoing person and easy to communicate with, so I just liked the concept of that aspect, the PR aspect, stuff like that. So I gave it a shot. It was fun. But
what was like the most beneficial part of college? Like what major, like what set of classes do you feel like you've used the most, or do you feel like you've used stuff from every class, like every area that you've
honestly
kind of
just networking, like just meeting so many people. That school is pretty big, and I would say I knew like majority of the people on campus. So
Damn.
yeah, so just networking, and I love meeting new people. So
That's not UB, right?
no,
Buff State is
UB
like,
is huge. They have two
Yeah.
separate
I was gonna say.
campuses. Yeah, no,
So
Buff State still has like 16,000,
okay.
which is a pretty big
Yeah.
for a.
how
for a
did you
state school.
meet all these people? Like, was it like you just actively like talking to anyone that like came up to you, or like what kind of things?
Because I played basketball, that was like, I don't know how to, like, you just are friends with all the athletes pretty much. And then there's this place called the Union, which is where all the food places are. And we would just, like, in between classes, hang out there. And then everybody would come up. And, you know, if you're sitting with another team, their friends come up. So you meet them. And it's
Start
just,
meeting people
yeah.
through other people.
I feel like being in athletics, you have a lot of influence on the
Yeah.
culture.
Plus, our
Yeah.
coach had us go do different things with different teams and stuff like that. So we were introduced to a lot of people.
What division is Buff State? Is that
D3.
D3? Okay. So what was playing D3 basketball like?
It was so much fun.
Where was Buff State like a good? Are they a good team?
Yeah.
Are they still like?
Now they're not anymore. We were ranked nationally.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were really good. We made it to the championship my freshman year, and then the semifinals 2 years in a row after that. So we were pretty good.
What position?
Shooting guard. But senior year, I had to play point guard because our point guard left without telling anybody. But
Oh shit.
yeah, but it was fun. We had to travel, stay in hotels, go to like Florida every other year. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like anything from playing basketball is like carried over into what you're doing now?
100%. Just like confidence and leadership, just being able to, I don't know, just feel confident talking to people, meeting new people.
All the soft skills,
Yeah,
they definitely have a huge impact.
definitely. And the amount of people you meet through basketball. Like,
True. You're always at like tournaments and all
yeah,
that
and then
kind of
some
stuff.
people end up, like, I played and practiced with a lot of guys who are now, like, elite level players. So,
Especially being in the shoe business.
mm-hmm.
It's a very good.
They go hand in
Yeah.
hand. Yeah. So that's helped a lot, especially my business is really word of mouth, so as well as like social media, but getting
Sorry.
no, you're good. Just like getting people who I've grown up playing basketball with who are at the higher level who come back and get stuff done from me.
As far as what?
Sneakers.
Sneakers,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So like Breanna Stewart, who's in the WNBA, I do her shoes,
Nice.
which are on national TV. So
So
stuff
what
like
is
that.
is it that you actually do with the shoes?
I paint them whatever they want, like characters, like cartoons, change the color. I can do people's faces. So if somebody passed away, a lot of people get like tribute pairs done. So stuff
and
like
this
that.
is all just hand drawn.
Airbrush or hand drawn.
Okay.
So have you
Yeah.
always like, I know you've been doing design, but like this is kind of, I feel like this is kind of more like art.
Yeah, this
I mean,
is
I know
definitely
art and design kind of go hand in hand, but like this is more on that art side. Like, have
Yeah.
you always been super artistic?
I
just as,
have
like,
been.
for your whole life.
Yeah, I've always been able to draw, always liked painting, but like I said, I was so focused on being an architect that I never explored any other aspect of art, really.
It's like an untapped talent.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, I mean, obviously this is kind of in hindsight now, but now that you're doing what you're doing now, would you ever want to know what it would be like to do the architect side of things?
No, not anymore. I've pretty much outgrown that. I had to get over it fast once I got the news that I didn't have a portfolio, but I do think of it time to time, but I love what I'm doing.
What is it that draws you in so much to what you're doing right now?
So it's really the best of both worlds. Like, I've always liked shoes, so dealing with different shoes every day and then putting my creative ability on them is just, there's so much you can do. Every day is different for me.
So having that like independency is what you value most.
Yeah.
So what was the first shoe you did that got you thinking like, oh, I could do this, like I could keep doing this?
So when I started, it was me and 2 friends who started it, and this was back when it wasn't where it is now. It's pretty big now, sneaker customizing, but when we started targeting like underground like rappers and stuff. So like before Fetty Wap was huge, we contacted him.
Just DM?
Yeah, through DM. It was so easy, and he would respond.
Instagram, man.
That's so sick.
Ray Shremmerd, people like that, Bryson Tiller, K Camp, and we got a hold of them.
What were you saying in these messages?
Like, hey, this is so-and-so. We're college students who just started our own business. Let us know if you want any free custom, like we would do it for free.
Okay.
Free custom sneakers. So they would get back to us. So Fetty Wap all of them got back to us.
Were you surprised at like the response?
We were so excited.
You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, we're like, okay, we could be big. So, but we're college students. This is the first time we're doing this, and it's like, we had no idea business-wise what we were doing. So both of those fell through. We just never got the shoes for them.
Did you actually do any shoe designs prior to reaching out and being like, hey, can we?
No, yeah, we knew what we were doing.
Okay,
at least.
I was like, were you just like trying to see if people would even like bite on it?
Trolling them.
Yeah.
Just kidding, no.
So what kind, like, how many like pairs of I mean, maybe you've done a lot prior to that, but like prior to like starting to reach out, yeah.
Oh, we still did probably about like 50 or so.
Okay.
Because we would do kids on campus. They would just let us experiment with their shoes.
So you would just like reach out to people on campus and be like, hey, like.
Yeah, and then people would come to us and like, hey, I heard you do this. So we were cleaning shoes, fixing them up, and then started painting them. So I lived in a suite, like an apartment. It was just filled with all these kids' beat up shoes that we were just experimenting with. So we tried back then. And then it just, people go their separate ways. So it became just me doing it. And then by that time, it was time to graduate. So I'm like, this isn't enough to support me. Like, I need to find a full-time job. So working a full-time job exhausts you, and you don't want to do anything else when you get home, or you want to have a social life, you know, you had to pick.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
So I kind of got lost in that and stopped doing shoes. I would do like 1 or 2 here and there, but I wasn't like working how I should. And then one day I just decided like I want to go back to doing shoes. Like this is what I want to do. And then.
Is that when you quit your like 9 to 5?
Yeah.
What were you doing for that?
At Nike.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I left the last day of December 2017. So January 1st would be my first day full time. So I was living in Grand Island, New York, which is in between Buffalo and Niagara Falls.
Oh, okay. Just on your own?
Yeah. I had a roommate.
Is that where you're living because of college?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was living in Buffalo, and then I moved to Grand Island because I was working at Nike, so it was like closer. And I have family in Niagara Falls. So then I moved there, and I was just working out of my apartment, and then moved to Niagara Falls, and now I'm here because I've wanted to come back to Syracuse. I've lived in Buffalo for 6 years, so I'm like, I wanted to come back to Syracuse, and I have a lot of connections here. So.
Were they untapped connections, like people you didn't even like think?
Here?
Yeah.
Not really. I've always remained in contact with certain people, but being back has definitely like opened more doors for me.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you were saying before when you were reaching out to like Fetty, it kind of fell through.
Fetty, first name
Yeah,
basis.
Fatty, yeah.
The boy.
We're boys. Yeah, but
So you said it fell through because of business reasons?
Just because we weren't professional enough, basically. So like he wanted stuff done, but we kept pushing it off, and we're broke college students, you know, and buying shoes for him wasn't our top priority. So
Okay.
it was our fault completely.
Was he
and then
trying to like
blew up.
upscale? Oh, true.
No, he was cool. He said he had never owned a pair of Jordans. Like, he was very cool. And then
so
he popped off.
Did he like ask for an expensive pair that you guys just like weren't able to follow through on?
Well, at the time, yeah, he had mentioned like a Jordan that we would have had to pay resale value for.
Oh.
Yeah, so it wasn't like he was like, hey, let me get an Air Force One or something like that. It was like an expensive shoe, so.
So
Makes sense.
then you have to make that choice.
Yeah.
So did you reach back out and basically say like, we can't do this? Or
No, I don't think we did.
Just say nothing.
I think what happened was we pushed it off for so long. When we finally tried to reach out again, he didn't open the message because he was big, like,
Right.
he had already
Yeah.
came out with, like, Trap Queen or whatever,
Yeah.
so.
And then at the time when you did reach out, like, he wasn't that big, so you were like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Shit.
Yeah.
Hey man, I mean that's just
You
how
live
shit
and learn,
goes.
yeah, so.
Why Fetty, though? Did you have, like, foresight seeing,
So,
like...
me, I've always been, like, low-key trying to, like, find talent for some reason. Like, I would be on YouTube just, like, looking up talent, and I would go on Instagram and just find these, like, underground people who I knew were, like I knew he was already signed. I knew he was
Right.
gonna be something, but not enough people knew of him where it was, like, I couldn't reach out, you know, like, where he wouldn't see the message. Like, I knew I would be able to make that connection, but
all these like subtle skills that you might not like
Yeah.
at first glance know about, but
Yeah.
it's like it means so much like at the bottom in the end
Yeah,
basically for you and your
exactly.
business.
exactly. So, yeah.
So that initial like reach out, you didn't do shoes for any of those people?
We ended up doing shoes for K Camp. Oh, this is another thing I would do is we would have Springfest, which is our concert every
Yeah.
year, and I would reach out to whoever was coming to perform. So I knew K Camp was coming, and I would research his manager, anybody affiliated with him, so I could get that connection, which we did. So we did do shoes for K Camp, and I was actually put on his promotional team, so that was kind of cool. Like, his manager always remained cool with me, and he said if he ever, like, came, I could go to a concert, which we did do.
That's
So
awesome.
that was cool. And then Bryson Tiller as well, because he came to Buff State.
So did they wear the shoes that you did for that show, or it would?
No,
it
they
just-
were bougie. They
Yeah.
were, yeah. They're like, we have our outfits picked out.
Got
You
it.
know how that goes. But
So did you try pitching that? Like, oh, maybe you can wear them at the show.
Yeah.
And then they're like, nah.
after they were done, we were like,
Yeah.
wear them. And then they're like, no, we're like, really? But
That would have been sick.
yeah, we got pictures with them.
Okay, that's fair.
Cool enough,
Gotta
I guess.
compliment,
Yeah.
you know, a little
And
compromise there.
we had backstage passes and stuff. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean,
So, I mean...
The perks of having your own
You know.
truly scheming that whole
Yeah.
thing. That's pretty
Hell
sick.
yeah, and that was back in college. Like, I really wish I would have taken it so much more serious back then, because the people who did start when I started are huge now, but everybody has their own
In
path,
terms of,
so,
like, the shoe customized game?
Yeah.
Okay.
like hundreds of
So you've been
thousands
paying
of
attention to,
followers.
like, other people doing this
Oh, yeah.
when you started?
Mhm.
Okay.
So
that's
when
good.
you started, it was still like an up and coming kind of culture around
Yeah,
it.
definitely was.
And so now there's more competition.
Oh yeah, there's like these famous customizers who work with celebrities on the daily basis, and
I've seen some, like, mini docs. I think maybe Vice has done something, but, like,
Mm-hmm.
where, like, there's people who, like, strictly, specialize in, like, just shoe cleaning alone. You can just
Yeah.
bring your shit in, and it's, like,
Mhm.
it's got, like, that barbershop feel where, like,
Oh,
you bring it
word.
in. It's, like,
Yeah.
super old-timey, and, like, yeah, people have, like, taken
out in
it
LA
to-
they have a bunch of those shops.
Yeah. So, do you think that, like, Syracuse is the future of where you could be, or, like, do you see yourself expanding out, like, outside of here? Because, like, this market's kind of small, you know?
It is,
So,
yeah. So I probably will eventually move out. I don't want to necessarily stay here the rest of my life. But for right now, I want to, like, build here because I've built in Buffalo for so long. I want to build where I'm from and then see where that takes me.
And now when you say build, what exactly are you doing to do that?
Just trying to, like, pretty much take over here, like, be known as the shoe customizer in Syracuse and work with teams around here and just really build my brand here.
So given that there's a lot of different competition now because it's grown so big, what's the one thing that kind of sets you apart from everyone else?
In being in Syracuse or just in general?
In general, as a brand.
That's a great question. Honestly, I would say, like, my attention to detail is very, very different than most. I have a very interesting way of visualizing stuff, and because I'm not as famous now, my wait time is way less than those people. So
true.
Just the accessibility, I would say, too.
so, like, your turnaround time from an order to, like, finished product.
My turnaround time is still long. It's 6 weeks right now
Okay.
because I am very busy.
Yeah.
But, like, celebrity customizers are, like, months and months to a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, just because it's for the name. Like, you're getting it for the
But
name.
do you foresee yourself being in that position, hopefully?
Yeah.
So-
I mean, the goal would be to have my own store eventually.
So have you met other people who, I mean, are you actively working with anyone locally that's also doing this, that, like, you're teaming with? Or are you strictly just alone?
Yeah, no, I'm alone.
Do you plan on ever having, like, people working
No.
with you? This is just solo.
Yeah. I've
It's
had
like
too many
indie
bad
art.
experiences with people that just fell
It's hard
through.
to like,
Yeah.
rely on other people,
And
for sure.
like we were talking about earlier, people's just motivation and ambition is just so wishy-washy. Some people are just they don't care.
Yeah. And especially with something like this, you got to put your heart and soul into it.
Yeah, and it's so unique. Like, people are they're coming to me for my artistic ability. So if I had somebody else,
they wouldn't be
it wouldn't be
necessarily
the
getting
same.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were talking about, like, your vision or visual
Mm-hmm.
of how you approach your art. Because at the end of the day, this is about your art.
Right.
I mean, it's on the shoe, but yeah, graphic designing is your forte with this. What exactly do you mean by your vision to this is unique?
Just how I put stuff together. So people can say they want 20 different things on a shoe and I'll make it work. Whereas some people would be like, whoa, like, this is
Too much,
yeah. So, like, I'll be able to, if somebody says, like, certain things, I'll be able to put it together immediately in my head and
Whoa.
think of, like, a concept to tie it all together.
So like the cohesion with all the different
Yeah.
pieces.
I mean, sometimes it is kind of crazy. Like, no, that's going to look like a paper mache or something. But
Do you have an example of a project you've had in the past where you were able to put all these pieces together?
I mean, if you just go on my Instagram, pretty much all of them are just, like, you'll be able to tell, like, what, like, for example, Nipsey Hussle, who passed away, the rapper, a lot of people wanted those customs, and I've done 3 different ones, which all are very different because I knew a lot about him, so I was able to tie in different things, but just that, for example, whereas some other people might just do the same design for all 3 people.
Oh, okay. I
You
got
know?
it. So, like, every piece you do is unique
Yeah,
to the one
one of
before,
one,
and
yep.
it'll never be
Mm-hmm.
repeated.
And if people do want the same thing, I'll say, I'll do it similar, but something's going to be different.
I like that.
Yeah.
That also causes, like, I mean, not that I think you're trying to do it this way, but, like, if people were to say they want to resell their customs that you
Right.
made and say you know you're a famous name and customize,
Yeah.
like, it's a one of one
Mhm.
of that shoe now, so it's probably worth way more.
Right, yeah. That could happen. I wonder if people do that
I
with
don't know.
famous ones. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell, but yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about customizing is you can't go on Nike.com and get what you can from a customizer.
Right.
It's specific to that person.
So, do people come to you with a pair of shoes that they already have that they want customized, or are you buying them for
No,
them?
people always provide the shoe,
Okay.
and they have to be new.
How much do you charge?
My minimum is $140, and it goes up from there. So I would say the range would be like $140 to $300.
Okay, and what kind of determines how much your price is?
The difficulty, how long it'll take me, the material of the shoe, because each material requires a different procedure of how I do it, basically.
Okay, yeah, you said airbrush, like line work.
Not even that, but like there are certain materials. So if it's a mesh shoe, it's different than a leather shoe, which is different than a rubber, stuff like that.
So I guess like I kind of want to like visualize like your process. Like take us through, I don't know, just like a hypothetical scenario. Say I bring in my shoes. Like what from me giving you a shoe till you like handing me it back, like what's that process look like?
So typically even before you hand me the shoe, we'll talk about the design. So I can give you a price. Then when I get the shoe, it kind of sits for a couple weeks because I have a lot of orders right now. But then before I start, I'll reach back out. We'll go over a final game plan. Some people want a draft, so I'll like Photoshop something just so they can get a visual. And then I just work on it. And then it takes me 1 to 3 days sometimes to do a shoe, depending on how complicated it is and how detailed. And then I'll take pictures, and if you're local, I'll meet up to give them back. If not, I'll ship them.
Got it.
So now with the design process, is this something you design on the computer and then you try to transfer it to the shoe, or you just kind of freestyle?
Yeah, I come up with a plan in my head first and then go from there, really. I mean, if people ask for a mock-up, I'll go online to do it, but...
That's cool. Super organic, like on the spot.
Yeah.
Just let the creative juices flow.
I definitely come up with a concept, otherwise I'll get lost, but yeah, I try to plan ahead as much as I can.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
do you say you're working on a shoe? Are you just working on this one shoe start to finish before you go to another one, or are you working on multiple shoes at the same time?
Usually just the one, but if the paints, I have to wait between coats and stuff, I'll start prepping the other shoes. So I have to strip the companies like Nike put a finisher on the shoes. You have to strip that off so that the paint will stick to it.
Got it.
So I'll prep it. If I have to tape off certain areas, I'll tape that off while the paint's drying, just so I can.
So you're multitasking.
Yeah,
in that
so
sense
I'm not
to be
just
more
sitting
efficient.
around.
So would you say like over time, since you like have gone full time, your efficiency has gotten like better?
Way better. Yeah, it used to take me probably like a week to do some shoes.
Okay.
But I've had to get more efficient just because I don't want my wait list.
Yeah. Damn.
To get too out of hand. Yeah.
So how like long did it take before your list of people reaching out like started to really build out?
I would say that year, all of last year, I took the time to really build my clientele, and now it's just very frequent, and they're people from all over, like that I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Is it like repeating customers or?
Yeah, it's
okay.
cool. It's really nice. It's to hear that because anytime I give a shoe back, for the most 9 out of 10 times, they'll be like, I have another project for you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So are you also getting like word of mouth through people who have gotten customs where like their friend now comes and they're like, I want customs as well?
Damn, yeah.
That's sick.
Especially with teams.
Right.
Like I'll do one for a player and then their teammates want stuff done.
That's strategy right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they're doing the work for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, well, you still have to obviously make the shoe, but
Right.
like they're doing like the outreach for
And
you.
back to what you had said about what makes me different, another point I just thought of is my shoes are very durable. A lot of customizers, it's very embarrassing that do stuff for people on a bigger scale, like in the NBA or such, WNBA. There's sneaker blogs who take pictures of the shoes now and tag the customizer, and it'll be chipped. Like, the paint will be chipped. It looks terrible on the court, and they'll still snap that picture and post it. Whereas mine, you can wear them through a whole season, and you're good. And these other artists wear them. They make them, and people wear them for a game, and it chips.
I want to ask you why, but I don't want you to give away your secret.
It comes down to prep work. If you don't prep the shoe properly, it's not going to last. And if you don't know the different materials and different paints to use for the materials, that's another problem.
So where did you learn how to do all of this the correct way?
Trial and error. A
So
lot
you
of
just,
messing
like,
up.
do you have like a notebook or something that you just like keep or you just remember
Yeah.
from time on?
Once you
time
do
to
it
time?
so many times, it's like embedded in your head.
So do you think that those particular customizers that have done, let's say, not the best quality job, do you think that that is just a lack of knowledge on their part? Or, I mean, obviously this is kind of just like us assuming what's going on there, but like, do you think it's because they don't fully understand what they're doing, or they're just being lazy?
Probably both, because if you weren't lazy, you would know how to do it. You would do your research, but a lot is just the inexperience. People see customizers and they just want to do it, and it'll look good for a photo, but when you wear it, it doesn't work. So people just want that instant, like, I want to do this, and they don't take the time to
Actually learn the craft.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm wondering is how does some Joe Schmo customizer get LeBron James to wear the shoe that was customized that's not done correctly, but then like someone like you.
Well, it's definitely not a LeBron James. It's one of those players who.
Oh, it's like the off player. Yeah. Okay, got it.
And most of the time, they know them somehow. Like
they've had like some weird connection.
Yeah. Like I said, like even me, I know people who are now in the NBA. They might have just grew up together, and then the person is in the NBA now. But yeah, it's definitely not LeBron James. He wouldn't.
I was gonna. All right, yeah, maybe he was a bad example, but yeah, I was like,
I know what you mean.
I would hope not. Like,
no, it's never a star player.
Yeah,
because
they always have like their own like shoe deal with, Nike or whatever, Jordan.
Yeah, and some in the deals they can't alter the shoe because it's like Nike probably would get insulted if LeBron
came out with customs on. They'd be like, what the fuck?
Like, what? I gave you what you wanted.
Yeah. So, who would you say is like the most famous person that has a pair of customs from you? Maybe it's in your opinion who the most famous person is, but
probably right now Breanna Stewart in the WNBA, just because she's a huge deal. Yeah. Like she's the best player right now, and maybe of all time. I don't know. People have different opinions, but I think so, and. That's just a Syracuse local. Like, we grew up playing together.
That's so awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that wasn't probably hard to be able to get that project.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Like, she knew you prior to...
Yeah, we played AAU together when we were, like, 12.
So...
And we kept in touch throughout college, but she wasn't, because of NCAA, she wasn't allowed to do that. So, once she made it professionally, I reached back out and she's like, absolutely.
That's so
but she's hurt right now, but all last season I did like 6 pairs for her.
Damn. And that was the year they won the championship.
Yeah.
Right? That's so sick.
Yeah. So that was huge.
I mean, like, not knocking like WNBA by any chance, but like I feel like her coming to the WNBA has like created more buzz around
100%.
Because like I watch SportsCenter like all the time, and I just growing up never talk about the WNBA.
Me
and all of
neither.
a sudden there's like top 10 plays in the WNBA.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit.
I know they're dunking now.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. Yeah, I wasn't even familiar with the WNBA, which is sad because I'm a girl basketball player. But I don't know. It always had that rep of just being like too slow to watch, or So I never. And it wasn't publicized like it is now. It's gotten way more.
Which is really a shame. Like it's
is
kind of just like a discredit to the from like the media.
Well,
platforms.
even the pay difference between NBA and WNBA, it's sick. It's like literally, and it caused a lot of controversy because a lot of the women players have to go overseas in the off season to make
so they're
good
playing
money.
Even more.
Yeah, and then now look, everybody's getting hurt. So yeah, that's just a huge deal right now. But
I'm definitely glad like that they're getting. Cause I mean, even just watching the games, I'm noticing there's a lot of people actually going to the games as well. So it's not even that they're just showing them more on TV. They're actually people going to the games now.
And a lot of players are getting shoes customized in the WNBA. Well, so why it's so popular now is last year they lifted the ban on color restrictions for your shoes.
Oh,
So
shit.
prior to
Okay.
last year, nobody could get a
Just for the
custom.
WNBA?
No, for both NBA and
Oh.
WNBA.
Is the commissioner for the NBA the same for the WNBA, or are they different?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
I
to
think
know.
they're different.
But they both uniform, like, decided that that's what they're
Yeah.
going to do? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
So that brought a whole new market.
Do you know why there was a ban on that?
I don't know.
That's weird.
But even back when Michael Jordan played,
Yeah,
there was a
because I
ban.
know he would get, like, penalized. He would get, like, fees, like,
Fined,
fines
yeah.
for wearing his, like, whatever shoes he
Yeah.
wanted to wear.
Exactly. So that was lifted last year.
So,
So that helps me out a lot.
have you tapped into the NBA as well yet, or are you?
Not so much. Like, I know people in the NBA, but I haven't. Certain people just aren't into it, and I'm not going to force it, and I don't
Got
want to be
it.
that person. But if I could make that connection, it would be really big. I have tapped into, like, overseas,
Okay.
which is still really good.
Still
And
with basketball.
yeah, men's overseas, women's overseas, and the WNBA, which is where I've pretty much tapped in. And I'm really trying to focus this year on the college level, just because you don't have as big of egos, and it's kind of backwards how when people make it professionally, they want stuff for free when they have the
When
money.
they have them, yeah.
So that's just another
It's like
thing.
entitlement.
Yeah, which
So-
I don't like to deal with.
So there's no restrictions in college, or is it just like high level college that there's
There aren't restrictions. It's per team. It's per
based on
coach.
their like,
It's only their
rules?
coach.
Got it.
So there is no rule, which like a referee would say you can't wear those or something.
Right.
It's just their coach's preference.
Got it. So like if they are okay with their players having like unique shoes, or they want them to be like uniform.
Like my coach wouldn't even let me wear a shoe that wasn't black or orange. Like super strict. And me being a very like a sneakerhead who had a huge collection at the time, I had a pair of shoes that were black, orange with a hint of pink. Nope.
Like you tried wearing them once, and
Yeah.
your coach was like, "Nah."
Yeah, but then I just started wearing them. She was like, all right, fine.
Fair.
Yeah.
So are you planning on tapping into like Syracuse University? Like, have you already started to do that?
Yeah, so that there was just a tournament called the basketball tournament.
Yeah.
And I did Eric Devendorf's shoes.
Nice.
So those got a huge media buzz. Like I was going to the games and people were like, "Oh, are you the one who did the shoes?" And I'm like, "Yeah." That was cool.
Yeah, that's sick.
So I am gonna try. I did Tyus Battles last year for SU. I would love to do more this year, so I'm gonna see how that goes. And
So now that you're back in Syracuse, is there like a target audience that you're trying to reach out to, or
just the college teams is
Okay.
my main focus.
So-
I am
so
getting
that
a
would
lot
be-
of.
That would, sorry, I don't
You're
want to
good.
cut you off. Just like, but I guess to like, for the listeners, like, that'd be like Syracuse, Lemoyne, like
OCC. I did OCC some
Any
last
colleges
year.
outside of Syracuse, but like in this vicinity though?
Yeah, and like last year I did UB,
Okay.
Canisius, Buffalo schools mainly, and I know certain people at multiple schools, so I'm just going to see how it goes from there. But yeah, I definitely want to focus on the college. I feel like too many people are focused on professionally right now, so I want to focus on
Tap
college.
into a
That's
different
fine.
market.
Yeah.
And I feel like at a college level, because those athletes, some of them may never like make it to professional,
Yeah.
or at least not like the NBA, for example.
Right.
But like they're more open to
Yeah,
that.
and more humble generally,
Right.
but also at the same time, some will make it, and
Right.
then you have that. I have that connection, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess
both
it's
ways.
definitely good to tap
Yeah.
into them before, like kind of going back to that original reach out that you did
Yeah.
with those like up and coming
with your
rappers.
boy Fetty,
Fetty! Shout out! I, have
I saw
come
him
on
in
the show.
Binghamton.
did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
It's
came
pretty
to
cool.
Albany too. I
He
went
has
to
like
Albany.
6 kids
Yeah.
with 6 different moms
my
right
God.
now. Like he went crazy.
Yeah.
And you can only
Legend.
half see all of
Or it
them.
might even be 9. I don't know. I think it's 9.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All his checks are child support now.
That's gotta suck.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
It is what it
I hope
is.
he's a good parent.
Yeah, that must be hard though.
Yeah, true.
Imagine having
Like-
9 baby mothers.
Like, bro, you need to chill.
Yeah. Some of the kids are the same age too, which is just
He's just not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
No condo.
He was
I mean, at
going
what
crazy.
point do you just be like, maybe I should stop doing that?
Apparently, he didn't reach that point.
Oh my God.
I know.
Do you ever think about reaching back out to any of those people, or do you think that they're too big that they wouldn't even like give you the time of day?
It's so hard, and Instagram like switched their algorithm. It's like impossible to. People get so many DMs now. It's just like, no, it's not worth it. The best thing to do is like follow, and if you get a follow back, then try to reach out. It was funny, like 2 weeks ago, I got this. I don't know how familiar you guys are with underground basketball, but there's like the and one, which are like, you know who the professor is.
I've heard of him.
He's like
the
OG.
Seen some like videos. Yeah.
He followed me on Instagram
Just out of the
randomly.
blue? That's
Yeah,
sick.
2.1
Oh, wow.
million followers. And he follows 2,000 people, and I'm one of them. I'm like, what the heck? So
Did you reach out?
I reached out to him, and I'm like, that means a lot. I've been watching him since I was young.
Yeah.
And
That's so sick.
he's like, I love your work, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, let me know if you ever want something. But just like stuff like that, it's like,
That's
so
dope.
yeah, power of social media.
Yeah. So are you specifically doing basketball shoes, or are you doing any shoes?
No, I'm doing anything. Basketball just happens to be like what majority of my shoes are just because of the connections I have with basketball. But like I do, what have I done? Lacrosse. You interviewed somebody from the Bandits who played.
Yeah.
I did Dane Smith.
Bill Bryan.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Dane Smith from the Bandits. I did him last year. Two pairs of shoes for him.
Well, maybe you can reach out to Bill.
Yeah.
Use this connection.
Yeah.
He's super humble, so
Yeah, he
I'm
seems
sure
cool.
you'd be interested.
So I've
Maybe.
done lacrosse, baseball, football, and basketball. So
Have you done just like anyone's like personal shoes, just like shit
yeah,
they wear around?
all the time. Yeah,
That's kind of like your typical.
yeah. People just want
Well, that's the thing. If they see like their idol in sports teams.
yeah. People
like,
get a lot
oh,
of
cool.
Vans done, Air Forces
What's the most common shoe?
that people get done.
Yeah.
For me, it's basketball shoes, but in the easiest shoe, like the most common shoe for a non-athlete, I guess you would say, would be like an Air Force or a Van.
Yeah.
Like Van slip-ons.
Yeah,
I feel like
there's a lot of
Vans.
room.
Vans, like that and like the material is probably the easiest.
It's literally
to,
a
like,
canvas,
yeah.
so it is easy.
Yeah, we have a friend, Tony Washington, which I don't know if you know him or not, but
I don't think so.
he's a local artist, which that would be cool if you guys did like a collab or something. I don't know. He's been on the show, but he does shoe designs as well.
Oh, cool.
Specifically, he's been working on just Vans, like any type of van, like high top, low top, like all of them. But he does really like intricate like line work and stuff, but it's
nice.
like really sick.
I'll
But,
have to check them out.
yeah, he just started doing like customs within like this year.
Does he
I wanna
paint
say.
or do like Sharpie?
He does Sharpie,
Yeah.
and then he does like stuff afterwards. I
So
think.
he like outlines with Sharpie and then fills it in with color, or is it all?
no,
black
it's
and
all
white?
black and white.
Okay, cool.
I
Yeah,
think you
A
just
lot of people
paint
do that.
sometimes like acrylic or something.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like he's an artist, so like he does
Yeah.
like giant like
Canvases.
building, like he does like building murals and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
Like I mean,
Maybe I have heard of him. Somebody was talking about.
he goes
an
by
artist.
Tone Wash.
He does the heart with like the
I would have to
cross and
see.
stuff.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have to see.
We can show you after, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely. I definitely think you two should like
should.
connect at some point because
Definitely.
I'm sure you guys could share ideas or whatever. I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's
That
what I
would be
like
cool.
doing about this stuff. Hold on one second. I need to turn my phone off.
Silence your phone.
so
Phoenix, Arizona. No, I don't know anyone from Phoenix, Arizona.
Bill collector.
Yeah, probably.
shifting over to the more like business aspect, is this something you're doing this full time right now?
Uh-huh.
Is it so it's sustainable
Yeah.
with how your
Yes,
lifestyle is?
Exactly. Yep.
What are your visions as far as the business part of this goes?
Right now, I want to still do like what I'm doing for a few more years before I try expanding into a store or I don't even know what else. But just I don't feel like I have fulfilled enough yet. I've only been really a year and a half full time. So I've grown a lot in a year and a half, but there's still so much more I can do. So I'm just going to focus on doing what I'm doing because it's been working, and then go from there.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's your like work-life balance been like since you've been doing it full-time?
I work a lot, like weekends. I try to work 9 to 5 throughout the week, but it usually turns to 9 to 6, and then I'll go in on the weekends and do stuff. But I have been trying to take at least one day off because it'll just get too much. But having your own business is a lot of work.
Sure is.
And I just get stressed out knowing that I have shoes to be doing. So, like, any downtime, I'm just like, I should be doing this. But
Right.
I've been getting better about that. But I love working, so.
That's awesome.
Because I'm creative doing it, I don't mind not doing it.
Yeah. That's kind of like just to kind of like compare, like, because we're in a different industry and like what we're trying to do, so it's hasn't been as easy to like, I guess, rise up. But also you've been doing this a lot longer than us.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of like the point where we're trying to get, like, what we're doing is kind of like our lifestyle. So
in terms of like the podcast.
Well, we do the podcast. We also have a full like clothing line,
Okay.
and we're doing we haven't really like talked about this with our fans yet, but like we're doing like private labeled like matcha tea to start, but we're doing like tea line, and then
awesome.
we want to also do
Is this the product?
Yeah, this is part of
nice.
it.
and then
That's
we
cool.
want
Cohesiveness.
to do like I was saying, like video work for up and
That's
coming
cool.
entrepreneurs. So instead of like targeting businesses, we're targeting the up and coming entrepreneurs, like people who maybe don't have that money to pay for like a really
Right.
fancy like production crew, but maybe still get a good quality video because
Right.
we're not going to charge them out the ass for it. And then we're still building connections.
Exactly.
And
That's a good
creating
idea.
content.
We're definitely in the underground culture of
Yeah.
like music and art.
Yeah, we're kind of like on
That's our
that.
place.
Yeah, up and
That's awesome.
we're starting. We're making more and more noise. I would say like month over
Yeah,
month.
too many people expect things overnight nowadays, so it definitely takes time. But
Yeah.
as long as you're putting in the work, it'll definitely pay off.
Yeah, and I mean like this has been like a great outlet for us. Just like
Yeah,
meet
I love
everyone,
this. This is my
so-
first podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like most people that have been on our show, this was
It's
like their first
first, yeah.
podcast, which is honestly like really awesome for us because
Exactly.
it's kind of like with you, like if you sell a custom shoe to someone in college and they end up like blowing up and they
Yeah.
shout you out, like
Right.
that same thing could happen here. Exactly.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of podcasts too, so that's cool to be
Nice.
on one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I said watch because there are YouTube podcasts.
Right. Yeah.
What kind of podcast do you listen to?
It's gonna sound corny, but Logan Paul. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Are
His
you like
pod-
a fan of him?
No, not at all. His podcasts are the most entertaining thing to do while I'm painting.
Is it just because of how cringy he is?
He's not.
Or is this
he's
I've
very
never listened to his
knowledgeable.
podcast.
No, he is very, very knowledgeable and very open-minded. And
Interesting.
he has a very unique outlook on life. And his co-host Mike, he is very, very smart, like a businessman. He's hilarious too. He's stupid, but like he's smart at the same time. And it's just entertaining. And
So
then,
it's just them two?
and then there's a third, Spencer. He's like this very spiritual, like vegan, and he has a very positive outlook when they're getting crazy. It's very well balanced.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like my perception of Logan Paul's very like skewed
lot
because
of
of
people
like the
does.
whole YouTube shit that he's gone through in the last year.
He like rebranded and then came
Yeah.
out with this. It's called Impulsive because Logan Paul. But he brings on a lot of people who I have interest about, like just people who you wouldn't even think, like a UFO expert, and just like people from all over. And it's just
Yeah.
cool to like, I do it to listen to
think-
the people, the guests.
I feel like that's a really good move for him
yeah.
because like, I mean, I don't know if you know much about it, Kyle. Like Logan Paul basically like
Yeah.
he like got famous from Vine.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started like blowing up on YouTube after Vine
Him and his
died.
brother Jake.
Yeah,
Jake
and
Paul.
they basically just like did really stupid shit on YouTube, and then it kind of got like they took it too far, basically, more or less.
And they
took
got
it
a
too
lot
far.
of crap for it.
Yeah, and they had like a ton of sponsors and stuff, and all their sponsors like dropped them.
Yeah.
So like they lost like all of their like inflow of money. So they were like fuck, and they were like really rich, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they weren't really rich because they were living like rock stars, and and then when you lose all that money, it's like you can't continue to live like that. So
I feel like
became,
that's
like, an
gonna.
issue.
I feel like that's gonna happen with a lot of social media influencers.
Yeah.
They're just gonna fall into like this.
Well,
fucking
yeah, I mean,
hole.
like at the end of the day, I think when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's like, are you in tune with who you are? Are you doing that like personal build, like
Right.
self, like understanding, like self-awareness and building on yourself, or are you just like
How many
lost?
likes can I get?
Yeah, are you just
True.
lost in like what you're doing and not like thinking about like what is the
That's
bigger
what it
picture
is.
behind that?
That Instagram, do you remember that rumor that was going around that Instagram was going to
Take away likes
Yeah,
and all that.
because of mental health, because these kids are so focused on, if I don't get 10,000 likes, I mean nothing to everybody. Like,
Yeah.
they get so focused on that, and it's sad. Like, that's not what you should be focused on at all.
Like they're thinking about removing that function altogether.
So you can see how many likes you get, but the outside person can't
Can't.
see.
Oh wow.
So it was like I've listened to a couple podcasts that talked about this topic, and
Was this new, by the way?
This was, when was
It's
this last
sometime-
year or this beginning of this year?
It's been like during this year. I've
Yeah.
heard it more.
Okay.
It was a rumor. I don't know if it's true, but
Basically, like there's pretty obvious issues with it. For example, like people tend to steer towards like posts that have like a ton of likes and
Yeah.
stuff because they see them as like, oh, this person's like really influential.
like the popular page.
Right. So there's like a lot of like negative sides to that, like in terms of like for the business or that individual influencer, because like then they can't prove that like they're driving anything for that
They
brand.
did say that if you're doing like a brand deal, the brand,
Could see it.
yeah,
Oh,
they'll be
okay.
able to see the
Interesting.
engagement. Yeah. You and the brand will be able to see the engagement.
Okay.
So it's like whoever you have tagged with that photo.
I don't know how, kind of, like, I don't know how
Sounds
they
like
would
it would
work
make
it
a
out,
really
but,
confusing like
Yeah.
process for like a picture.
like, it sounds good for mental health and stuff, but I don't,
Yeah.
I feel like a new app would come out and people would just go to that rather
Right.
than deal with that from Instagram.
One of the spins of that I heard that was interesting, my thought, and it was more on like the business side, it had nothing to do with like the mental health, was by taking away the likes, it would cause people to find the best content instead of just the people who have a lot of followers and getting a lot of likes.
That's a good
You would
point.
actually like it would actually weed out like the spammy shit.
Right.
Because then you're just seeing anything. So then you're gonna just like naturally gravitate towards the content that like resonates with you.
Right.
So like people who may have never had a chance with the current
now,
system
yeah.
could now potentially like rise up
Yeah,
and be like
that's
well
true.
known. So it was like interesting that like there's pros and cons to both
Right.
ways of doing that.
I know. It'll be interesting to see, like,
Yeah.
a year from now what happens.
I mean, like for us, like I don't know in terms of like how you feel about it, but like for us, it's like we're at a point where we don't really care so much. I mean, yeah, we do care that people are obviously like connecting with our page and seeing our
Right.
stuff, but we don't like live and die by how
No,
many
yeah.
views or
You
likes we
can't.
get. Like we just care that like. I mean, at the end of the day, like I know the algorithm's kind of based on like what percentage of your followers are actually engaging and commenting and liking and all that stuff. So I mean, we kind of just like, is there a consistent amount of people like giving a shit about what
Yeah.
we're doing? That's
The
really
algorithm's
us.
all messed up because it's like some days you'll get a lot of engagement, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, and then the next it's like, does anybody even see it? It's weird. I don't know how. It used to not be like that, but I've noticed this year it has been a lot of inconsistency.
I feel like a lot of people are putting too much faith in social media. And like you were saying, like the power of just word of mouth and just literally in reality reaching out to people and having these projects done.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good to have social media there, but I would see it more as like a tool for you're gonna have to do outreach in other
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
ways now that it's
definitely.
growing. So
That's what's so
large.
interesting. It's like all these influencers, all these people are so dependent on like Instagram or Facebook or whatever their platform is
Right.
that like if it was stripped away, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, they like have no identity.
Yeah.
Like they're lost. Yeah, I agree.
Because like something like you're doing, like you don't like, yes, that is important to have that like
Yeah.
presence, but you could easily just go to the next platform that
Right.
comes out, whatever. Like you're not like getting famous because of Instagram.
Right.
You're just using it as a tool to get your message out.
Exactly, like a portfolio.
Yeah, and that's like the same with us. Like we're just using it to kind of document like what we're doing, but we
Yeah.
could easily just download all those pictures and transfer
Exactly.
them
It's
somewhere
not like
else.
you lose everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we're on YouTube and we're on like
Same.
Spotify. Like
It's
we're on
good
all
to
these
be on
platforms.
multiple platforms
Yeah.
for that reason. You never know. It's an app at the end of the day. You never know when
Right.
it'll shut down. Vine, everybody thought that was huge. That shut down overnight.
I think like you can't like I don't care what the app is. Like Facebook, I'm pretty sure like the more and more I hear about shit happening with Facebook, and obviously like Instagram's linked to Facebook because
Yeah.
they own it. Like the more I think in the next 5 years, Facebook is going to be like
The only
even
reason,
worse than it was.
the only reason most people have it is because you have to link, like for business. Like for me, you have to make an Instagram business page. You have to have a Facebook.
Right, exactly, because you have to build your
link 'em.
business page
Yeah.
and then transfer
So
it.
I feel like and it's like an older market. I feel like too.
Yeah.
I've had a Facebook since I could,
Started,
but
yeah.
for like the younger generation, they don't have Facebook.
It was so interesting, like Facebook, when it started to kind of get off of college campuses, like we were kind of like early high school or in
Mm-hmm.
high school, is like everyone our age was on it, and then
Yeah.
parents started to catch on,
I
and
know.
then we were all like, nope.
Yeah.
Everyone switched to Instagram at that point.
Yeah.
I
Our
know.
generation.
Parents are on Instagram now too. It's weird.
Yeah. When my parents followed me on Instagram, like the last like year, I was like,
Oh, luckily my parents don't have any of that.
whenever I see that, I'm just like, that
Like,
this is
why?
gonna be the end of
Yeah.
like Instagram because everyone's just gonna fucking leave because like people want that like disconnect from their parents where they can post
Right.
about stuff that maybe their parents wouldn't be so happy about
Right.
seeing.
I feel like that's Twitter and Snapchat now. Like those are
Yeah.
the private where people just
Yeah, I feel like for Twitter, I feel like it's gonna be around a long time just because
Yeah.
of I mean
it goes like in these weird waves. Like it died out, but now it's like everybody's like follow my Twitter, and it's like whoa, what's going on here?
I also feel like, I mean, think about it. People talk about Twitter all the time now because our president uses it on a
Right.
constant basis.
that
so
shouldn't
it's
be
always,
allowed.
yeah, like it's just shit like that causes
Yeah.
these upswings, and I'm sure the next president come in won't be even
Right.
remotely close to that, and then
No.
it'll probably like not be as
It's so
Yeah.
unpredictable.
it is.
Yeah, social media in general is.
I think that's a good like takeaway, at least from this topic, is just like not for being dependent on
Yeah, you shouldn't.
like
It's
a
great
specific
for like
platform.
marketing though.
Yeah, for sure. But like again, like someone's just gonna come out with the next best like
Exactly,
marketing tool,
yeah.
essentially.
Exactly. There's always gonna be something new.
And if you don't actually have a talent or skill and you just got famous because of like, I don't know,
Looks.
like a viral video
Yeah.
or it looks, it's like, okay, what if Instagram crashes? Then what?
Right. It did crash. Do you
You know?
remember when it crashed? It crashed like the beginning of this year, and people were going crazy.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know what to do. But
Yeah.
I feel
people-
like that was like a troll or something.
Yeah. So I work at a marketing agency, and we do like all sorts of stuff, but like one of them is like we do paid ads on like social media pages, and Facebook's like one of the bigger ones that we use. And one day Facebook just like was down the entire day, and like clients have like campaigns they need to like
Oh
go
my
live,
gosh.
and everyone was just fucking up in arms, like, they're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
They're all like on the line with support, and of course Facebook's like, we know there's a problem,
we
like
can't-
everyone in the world's like having an issue right
Yeah.
now, like
That's probably the day Instagram because they're
yeah,
connected.
like shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, like
People have a meltdown.
it's not even like just the influencers, it's just like companies, it
yeah.
affects it, like
Businesses, yeah.
that's I mean that's
That's
the other
scary.
thing. It's like, what if the internet just like
Right.
one day like
my gosh.
everyone would be fucked?
For real.
I feel like that's like the Armageddon though. Cause like I don't know.
That's
if the
World War
internet-
III.
I don't even know if the
Right.
internet would like completely. I mean, it could maybe.
Some hacker would be like, nope. Like,
Yeah.
and get back.
Yeah. I feel like cyber hacking or just like the whole, what is it? Online security that's going to be moving into the future, going to be like super important.
yeah.
It has to, cause like
I feel like more jobs are going to be more available in that area of the
Yeah.
economy because of like where we're going in
Definitely.
technology.
Do you think
Scared to
like
think about.
AI would take a big like role in that though? In like
saying, like-
cybersecurity?
Oh, that's a good idea. Just using AI to track
Yeah,
all of
because
the...
I mean, like, if you can train it to look for the right things, but then again, then a hacker could just
Right.
outsmart AI potentially. I don't know. Like, that shit's
Yeah.
just like I always think about it now.
Yeah.
We're like we talk a lot about like really like where things are going. I feel like AI is something people don't even like consider.
I don't even know what AI is.
Artificial intelligence.
I was thinking of Allen Iverson when you said that.
So like basically, and so it's funny. I want to speak for you personally, but like I'm like on the Andrew Yang gang. So he's running for president on the Democratic side.
Okay.
And he's the only candidate running on he's doing like certain things like universal basic income, and there's like all these things. We don't have to get into it, but he's the only one talking about how automation and artificial intelligence is displacing jobs, and it
100%,
it has over the last decade, and no one's talking about it. So we have like that's kind of like why like all these like people in like the swing states like Ohio and Michigan, like all these places where people's jobs have been displaced, were angry, so they ended up voting for Trump because they're like, we need something to change. But like he's like, yeah, like we need to like talk about this because this is a real problem, and none of these other candidates are talking about it.
Exactly,
And,
that's
like,
true.
But this is probably one of the most like important subjects to talk about. So it's just
All
always
the self checkouts and stuff now.
yeah, like
no cashiers.
it's like everything.
Yeah.
Like you name it. Like
it's crazy.
it's really gonna change like the fabric, at least of our society. I mean, any like major developed country is probably going down this route too.
Yeah.
And I don't know how other countries are dealing with it, but
Well, kind of putting it in
Interesting.
perspective for you is like, what if you had an artificial intelligence robot that could just design all of your shoes for
Right.
you and still had that like sense of you and authenticity in that
that'd
design?
be creepy.
That would be creepy.
Would you
like just
employ
dipping
that?
the brush in different paints?
And it was free. It was a free worker, and you just scale that, and you just
Yeah.
have like 20 robots making these shoes
that
for
would be
you.
crazy. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like
Yeah.
basically these owners of these companies are like, okay, I could pay, say, like a giant warehouse. I could pay 2,000 workers all of this money, or I could just get all these robots, do the initial investment, and then over like the long term end up
Right.
not having to pay for
That's
them other than
true.
the upkeep, and you save a shit ton of money, and now you own the means of production.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that's fucked.
That's
That's
scary
like
to think
that's like
about,
the
yeah.
reality though. Like people are doing that. So I guess I do want to talk about the universal basic income only because I have a lot of people who have like asked me like why are you following him, and then I say universal basic income, and they're like, well, that's fucking stupid. But it plays into this topic. Basically his idea is to tax all the companies who are like Amazon and all these places who have displaced jobs through automation and are like super duper rich, and they're like paying like nothing in income tax or
Yeah,
whatever.
isn't Amazon like paying?
They're paying zero.
Yeah.
So instead,
I remember reading about that.
what he's saying is he would pay everyone above the age of 18, I think, or 16, $1,000 a month, and that money would come from I forget the exact
Dividend
term.
tax?
It's literally a tax.
Value-added tax.
Value-added tax. On every like Amazon sale, every like, and it's not even that much. Like the tax is like very small, but it's because there's so many like sales on Amazon. There's
Right.
so many like things happening in all these other companies that are using automation now that like they wouldn't really fully like see it. Like they would see it, they would realize like that money disappearing, but it's such a small amount, but it allows for the entire country to like benefit from
Right.
this displacement.
Right.
And he has like a ton of statistics behind it. I just think like this is kind of my PSA to people listening to
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
at least like hear him out
Yeah.
on it. I think
Do
there's
some
like
research.
he's been on like Joe Rogan's podcast, H1 podcast. He's been on like a lot of and he's in the CNN debates or like on TV, so like he's there.
And he I think he realizes that this isn't a permanent solution. It's
Right.
just starting the conversation because
Yeah.
when this automation does hit, there's going to be so many workers displaced of jobs. And it's like, what are we going to do to just solve this? What's that like quick fix maybe to like help that person get a job to then be a little bit more
Yeah.
stable.
Yeah.
And so maybe just getting $1,000 a month is what you need to get jump started.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It's very interesting.
take
It's
it.
just like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Do that.
that's the thing. It's like, who's going to say no to free
Right.
money? And like, the other cool thing is like, if you're already getting money from the government, and say you're getting more money from the government than $1,000, you can opt in or opt out of the freedom. He's calling it the freedom dividend. But like if you're making less, if you're getting less from the government, you could just opt out of that and then just take that on.
Right.
And then, yeah. So it's just,
That's cool to think about.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's just like a lot. I mean, he has like a lot of facts to back up like why it would be beneficial.
Right.
Like things that actually like people's lives would improve and like all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like Kyle said, it's not like a permanent solution, but it's
Right.
like
It's a
something.
step.
It's something different
Yeah.
that like.
And of course, people are gonna. It's new. They're not gonna be like, oh yeah, like not everybody's gonna. They would have to see it to understand. I feel like.
It's just very interesting to see because it's like a year out from the primaries or whatever. But like, I think there was like 20 candidates or something, even more than that started like back when they started doing like the TV debates and stuff. And they're like dropping like flies now
Yeah.
because it's starting to get into like more serious time and like they're not polling well.
Right.
And he's slowly been like gaining
Oh, that's
in the
awesome.
polls. I think when he started, he was like not even polling 1%. Now he's polling like 3 to 5%, which I mean isn't gonna like compete with someone like Joe Biden or
Right.
Bernie Sanders. But like as
It shows
more
he's
drop
gaining
out,
more
yeah,
people,
as
yeah.
more drop out, he's gonna gain more of that
Yeah.
percentage. So it'd be interesting to see like where I don't know where that goes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is politics anything that you follow?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Do you
I
feel like any of
should.
that plays into your like business in
No.
any way? Do you feel like any rules or regulations in terms of like business that are you affected by, or are you just like
No, I'm not
Nothing.
knowledgeable enough to know either way.
It's so much. It's so dense.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, no one has a right answer. It's not logical.
Yeah.
It's all like beliefs driven.
I've always known politics have caused so many arguments and stuff that I've always just stayed out
Yeah.
of it. Like I just
definitely.
never. I mean, when people talk about it, I'll listen, but I don't.
Right.
I don't have a set opinion. I mean, I do on certain things,
Yeah.
but- as we all probably do. But yeah, I just don't really.
something that like I mean this is kind of more of like a personal mission, but I think it plays into what we're doing. We really like want to bridge the gap between differing ideas, and that's why we always
Yeah.
all of our episodes are with people doing completely different things. I mean,
Yeah,
Kyle
that's
was just
cool.
talking to someone who's a born again Christian. Like
Right.
people are so easily like deterred from talking to people who have an opposing idea because
Yeah.
they don't want to potentially have like an altercation or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like by coming in with an open mindset to listen and understand instead of just trying to like make your
Be right.
whatever you believe to be right, I think that's like a step to bridging that gap because like everyone has the free will to believe whatever they want. And I'm sure
Right.
like I mean, yeah, some people have some fucking crazy thoughts and like
Yeah.
that's kind of like the one-offs, but that's not everyone, you know?
Most arguments stem from closed-minded people.
Yeah.
So
So it's like what I mean, even if it's just like us making a small part in fixing that in
Right.
any way we can, I think that's like a good message for people. It's just
Definitely
be
is.
more open-minded about stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
need
kinda-
more of that.
Tying this back into you, is there anything as far as your message that you kind of want to get out or let people know that kind of relates to your brand? Maybe
Yeah, like-
like your mission, like you go through the intro to business and you have your like your mission statement, your values, that kind of stuff. Is that anything that you've delved into?
No, not really. Only because it's just so different of a business. It's not really like, I don't know how to describe it. It's
Yours
just
is more functional.
Yeah, it's just more like on a customer relationship type thing. So I'm very good at that. But I mean, there's not really a mission statement, I would say. Not that I
Well,
can
it seems
think
like
of.
you do have a mission.
Yeah.
You're just like using your communication skills
Yeah.
and networking.
Yeah. And I just feel like I'm not at that level yet to be able to say, like, I want to do this or I want to do that. I want to change this and stuff. So,
Like on a social cause
yeah,
kind of level.
Yeah.
exactly. But I do definitely. I mean, like, Eric Devendorf just had that shoe drive. Like, I love seeing stuff like that, people giving back, because he's on that platform.
Right.
Because that's the thing, like, the more you build out your network, the more influential you're
Exactly.
going to be.
So I still have to build to be able to do those things, I feel like. I mean, I've always given back to the community my whole life. Like, in high school, I would... have you heard of the Samaritan Center?
Yeah.
Either one of you?
Yeah.
It used to be down here. Actually, it might still be, but I used to go there with my mom and volunteer, like, serving the homeless breakfast and stuff. So I always like to give back. Like, I donate shoes to the Boys and Girls Club, stuff like that. But once I reach a certain level, I have some things in the...
What are those things?
We'll see.
But that's the cool thing about this is, like, entrepreneurial work. It's like you're independent, you're on your own, but it's like the super, like, it's this journey to, like, find yourself almost.
Exactly.
And, like, unlock who you are as a human and your, like, talents that you can offer to the community.
Yeah.
Question. What, like, bits of advice could you give to say it's maybe not even necessarily getting into the customizing game, but just, like, entrepreneurship in general? Like, what things do you think, coming from your experience, you could, like, shed to someone who maybe is thinking about starting their business or whatever project that
like,
you think could, like, help them, like, get to that next step and start, like, executing on something?
To just follow what you believe, because everybody else is going to have an opinion and they're going to be doubtful and stuff. But as long as you know what you want to do, passion is what drives successful business. If you're passionate, there's a saying, like, about if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And I feel like it's very true and something that everybody should live by. If you find your passion, then you should be doing that, period. Like, just find a way to do it. And there's going to be, like, trial and error and bumps in the road, but if you just stay with it and know that's what you want to do, then you'll be successful.
So even though you're working these ungodly hours, like, from
right.
what would you say, like 8 in the morning to 6 at night, and like
weekends.
Working weekends, and constantly on the grind, you're still ambitious. You're still, like, passionate.
You gotta put in the
driven.
hours now, because if you don't, somebody else is working when you aren't, so it'll pay off in the future. You work hard now, it'll pay off in the future.
It's kind of like people, just to give an analogy, it's people who start to work out. Maybe it's like the new year and they're like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. And they start going to the gym and they're there for a couple weeks and like, I'm not seeing results, and they stop.
Yeah.
It's like you
can't
stop. The second you stop is the second you gave up on, like, that idea being a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like constant momentum, right? Like, it's always like these small steps that lead to like a bigger...
And too many people nowadays want immediate results, immediate success, immediate fame, and it just doesn't work like that.
You got to put in the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it feels better when it takes a while and then all of a sudden something breaks, like something big happens. Like, it feels better knowing you worked so hard for it rather than being an overnight success. And it's like a sense of entitlement comes with that, I feel like.
The hard thing is, though, like, as idealistic as this is, I am going to see the flip side to this, is that it is a competition. Like, business, you're competing against other people in your industry, and you have to work hard to, like, rise above that competition. Whereas, like, let's say if you're in health and wellness and you're, like, a fitness guru person, with that it's more like internal development. Like, you could just put in your work and still get the gains from it, just as much as if someone put in, like, the same amount. There's, like, less competition in that sense. And I think that's the hard part about business.
So that would be the difference, is, like, business is harder than
for sure.
necessarily going to the gym and trying to like, get jacked.
And just being realistic for people, like any listeners.
Because you're only competing
out
with yourself at that point.
Yeah.
This, you're competing with yourself and
everybody else doing it.
Yeah. Which is insane. When you started, were there any, like, because I feel like we haven't really talked about, like, any, like, potential downfalls that you've had, or, like, hard times with the business?
So back to college, when I was doing it with other people, so basically, one of the people that was involved decided, because we had said we're going to do it on our own without that person. So it was going to be 2 of us. He had the password to the Instagram, totally just deleted it.
Holy shit.
We had 2,000 followers at the time, which was really good for us.
All organic, yeah.
Yeah, all organic.
That's fucked up.
And that's when like Fetty Wap and like the people who were big were still following us. Like it was a huge deal. So that was a huge.
Just out of spite.
That was a huge downfall. And then
was that a messy situation because of it?
Damn. Temporarily though. I mean now it's fine.
Right.
But yeah, we were young and dumb.
So you
back
forgave
then.
him?
Yeah. I mean, what can you really do? Yeah. So
it is what it is. Kind of thing.
It happened. Like whatever.
Well, that just shows your mindset, always being optimistic.
Yeah.
Especially with this line of work, you
always
have
to. Yeah, I try. I mean, there are obviously moments where you're like, you get doubtful. I get doubtful. Everybody does, especially in a creative realm. It's like you tend to compare a lot to people, which I try to not. But
question before you continue: what was the reason for not wanting to continue with that person? When it was the 3 of you?
Lack of work. So we were doing most of the work, but we were splitting the money.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
So we were splitting it 3 ways, but us 2 were the only ones.
So it was a
doing
justified reason.
Yeah, it was a very valid reason.
And they didn't take it very well,
No.
obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just kicked him out? Is that
nicely? We were like, we're just gonna do this on our own. Like we know you're doing. He was involved on a lot of different clubs and stuff on campus. So we were like, we know you're busy. Like we're gonna handle this on our own from now. And then he had the password, and we didn't think ahead.
Right.
We all had the password, but he changed the password.
You didn't think that he would do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then
was it something where he's like, okay, you're not pulling your third of the load. Could we just reduce your revenue?
No, we were just like, nope. I think we had that talk a couple times. Like we all need to be putting in the work, and then nothing changed.
Right. So you're not the first time someone messes up, you're like, you're out.
No,
Yeah.
it was like a recurring thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that whole thing was just we were so young and naive to all of this. Like none of us knew what we were really doing. I mean, we knew what we were doing with the shoes, but business-wise, we didn't know what we were doing.
Just operationally.
Yeah. It worked for a while, but then it just kind of all fell. And then another point back to that, like a downfall or whatever, just like a hardship in general, was when I first started. I would go through these spurts that I would have like a really good week and then a very slow week. And I mean, it still happens, not to the extent that it was, but it's just hard going from a set job with a set paycheck, and you knew what you were getting each week or every other week, and then to income, it's like, I don't know when I'm getting paid next. So that's hard to adjust to. Now it's very consistent, but
I feel like that's part of the process that's needed to get you to the point where you're at right now.
Exactly.
It's like the kick in the ass to get you to work more.
Yeah. So, and before, my prices have increased. So that was a thing that you have to start out cheaper. Well, I think it's a good thing to do. Start out cheaper because you have to build your clientele, and then once you get them and they see and you get bigger, then you can raise your prices.
True.
So even if I did have the work back then, it would take 3 or 4 shoes back then to be 1 or 2 now. So
got it. Would you say the quality of the shoe has been consistent since the start, or have you gotten better at that as well?
No, it used to be. I mean, I've gotten way better. When we were in college, there weren't as many resources to know what you were doing. I mean, we did a good job, but now with the airbrushing and stuff, it looks so factory finished now that before you could tell it was hand painted. You could tell you might be able to see a brush stroke here and there. It was good work, but not nearly as good as it is now.
Got it.
We're gonna have to get a boho hobo shoe.
Yeah,
that'd be
Custom
sick.
design.
Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
'Cause I've been meaning to get one from Tony too, so having 2 pairs of different
or
customs.
have him do the left and I do the right.
Oh shit!
Ooh, nice.
Maybe that's how we do the collab.
Yeah.
We'll spin it that way.
Yeah.
Have you ever? I mean, how often do you mess up on a shoe and then have to Has that ever happened? Where you like mess up on a shoe and you're like, shit, now I have to like get a new shoe or like
Probably, but it's paint, so there's a way to
clean it
work
off.
around it, or just Right now, funny you say that. This just happened. So I was doing a pair of sandals for my old basketball teammate who must be a little airheaded because she wanted a pair of sandals for her girlfriend and had texted me her girlfriend's name 6 different times, spelled a set way, Camilla. And I did the sandals. I sent her multiple pictures of the sandals. She's like, those are awesome. Those are great. I'm like, what's her Instagram? Because I'm going to post them. I want to make sure she's not following me so she doesn't see them because it was a surprise.
Right.
She gave me her Instagram, spelled her name Camilla giving me her Instagram and everything, right? I'm like, there's nothing popping up for this girl. Are you sure that's her Instagram? She's like, yes. I go on her Instagram, my old teammate's Instagram.
And then look it up through
in a tagged picture of her girlfriend. It's Camilla. I'm like, do you not know how to spell your girlfriend's name? Or like, this is concerning to me.
Autocorrect every single time.
She said it was autocorrect.
Of course she did.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I typed it with no autocorrect. Like, just fine. It didn't correct me. And the amount of times she spelled this name the same way, and I sent her pictures and she didn't notice.
Damn.
So she's sending them back. But luckily, it's just an L. I have to change to an I, a lowercase I. But yeah.
It could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
Like, what if, is it with a K or a C?
C.
So what if it was like with a K? That would just like
then she
wreck
needs a new
everything.
pair. Yeah. That's funny. But I was just like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me.
So it doesn't happen that often, though, is what
It
you're
doesn't,
saying.
and that was her fault. Like, that was totally her fault, but she's fine about it.
Did Camilla know?
No, she doesn't know.
Oh, okay.
I posted them still, but as Camilla, but I didn't tag her because they look so good. I'm like, I want to post them.
Like, whatever.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this podcast.
No, yeah, hopefully.
Camilla.
Skip through this part.
Well, she won't even know. She'd be like, I don't even know what Camilla is anyways.
I'm just like, I could not believe it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So.
I mean, I guess that's another good reason in terms of the work that you do not to work with someone else, because, like, you're just reducing
Exactly.
the chance of that.
Of a mistake or
Like,
something.
not even just like a misspell, well, potentially misspell, but just like, just any like mishaps. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
You don't have to
too
rely
much
on
room for
someone to
error.
like potentially mess it up.
And I'm a perfectionist, so if it's not done to exactly how I want, I'm gonna be like irritated.
Yeah. I went through your page and I was like looking at the drawings. I was like, I couldn't even tell the difference between you and the person who originally drew that. I'm like, that's really fucking well done. So how did you like, were you always able to draw like that accurate?
Yeah, I've always been able. I'm good at, like, if I can look at something, I can draw it. Some people are good at just picturing it in their head and drawing it. I'm good at, if I look at something, I can draw it.
So do you like pull up pictures of stuff that people want, and then from there you're kind of like using as reference while you're drawing it?
Do a lot of people want you to reference other things? Like, I give you a picture of Pikachu and I'll have you draw that on my shoe.
Yeah.
It's never like, oh, just like have your artistic ability, I'll give you the shoe and just draw something random.
No, usually they're like, they give me a theme. Like, say if they do want Pikachu, I'll add other stuff around it. I just won't put Pikachu. But most people have, like, an idea in mind.
Okay.
Like, most people who contact me, 8 out of 10, I would say, would have an idea in mind that they want. Some people are, like, freestyle, but I'm like, all right, but, like, what? Like, name some colors, names. You gotta give me something.
Right.
Because if what I might like, you might totally not. So
Yeah.
I need some sort of direction.
As we're doing this, I'm looking at your tattoos, and I'm seeing, like, connections between this custom shoe design and, like, tattooing.
Yeah.
Is that something that you could delve into?
No, I don't think so. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with skin and needles and...
True.
No,
yeah.
thank you.
Liability.
Yeah, total liability. Diseases. Like, no, I'm good.
Like, honestly, tattoo artists have a hard job, I feel like. Because they have to deal with a lot more, like,
And moving.
health-wise stuff
Yeah.
that you don't have to as a shoe
Yeah.
designer.
And just, it's just a whole different
Yeah.
intimacy with people, too. Like,
More factors.
yeah.
Have you ever thought of partnering with a shoe company, like a provider, where you would like get like wholesale discounts on like shoes or something, where you could like make?
Most places don't.
Interesting.
I've looked into it, but yeah, most places.
Yeah, as we're doing this,
because you're not, you're doing it to benefit you, not to benefit them, basically.
Right.
I wonder if there is a way to upscale this kind of idea, where you can get like more people on board. So like, let's say if you did get a store, for instance, what would that entail exactly?
I'm not even going to speak on that because I feel like I have very unique visions for that, and I don't want
to share
yeah.
that.
True.
That's fair.
But I just know it's different than like what.
What do other people do?
So most
we can
people,
talk
if they
about
have
that.
a store, they'll have like, if they're a customizer with a store, it'll be their workshop, and then they'll turn it into a boutique, and they end up selling like either their customs out on the floor or like resell stuff like Supreme and
So it's kind of like a
a streetwear store.
Right.
It'll turn into.
Got
But
it.
mine wouldn't be like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that's like food for thought for the future.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Off
come
the
back around
podcast,
that.
I'll talk about it with you.
Got it.
So with that, you would have just like, you would hire people on to run the store, and then the artist, the main person.
Like
The
with other
visionary.
people that do what you're saying?
Yeah, so like I would imagine if you're starting up your own store, you would have other employees.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
So you would
I don't
have the employees run like the daily operations,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you'd be in the back just like
I guess,
drawing up the
yeah.
designs.
Yeah.
Because then you could have like, have like almost like someone to just take in the order initially.
Like a secretary,
Yeah,
yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
That's, if I did hire anybody, it would be somebody to handle the DMs and stuff because...
It's just constant.
And it's just nonsense half the time. It's these little kids who are like, how many likes to get a free pair of whatever? And it's like, block. Like, it's just annoying.
Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Or it's just so many little kids just, they don't
Wanting
have a
free
clue.
stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they don't have a clue. It's just like, ugh.
Dude, like I guess if I was like, and again, like you said, you're gonna share with us after, like what things you were thinking of, but like I guess what I'm thinking of, like if I wasn't gonna do it the same way, I would kind of more go down the route of like hiring someone to help me with like marketing and like website potentially. Do you have a website?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I need a new one though. It's in the works.
Okay, so like marketing and like / website, and then like a video person
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to like document the process and then churn
Oh,
that
that's a good
content.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, yeah, you could have like someone in store, but like if you're not trying to replicate it the same way as other people,
Yeah.
you could be focusing more on like just generating that like buzz around like what you're doing.
Through
Yeah,
the
that's-
content.
That's a
yeah,
good
through the
idea.
content.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, seeing like the full process of a custom through like a really like well done video would be dope.
Yeah.
That's what I do
And
on
I'm sure
YouTube.
people do that.
Yeah,
so.
I have a YouTube doing that too, and a lot of people do that on
So
YouTube.
do you personally video, or do you have friends who do it?
I
for
do
you?
it.
Okay.
I taught myself how to do
Is
it.
that process hard for you because you have to do both things?
Yeah, well, now I haven't posted a video in probably like a month and a half or 2 months because of the move, and I just had a lot going on.
Right.
But I'm doing one tomorrow. Like, I'm going to
Nice.
start doing once a week, hopefully, or at least every other week. It's, when I have a lot of orders, it's just difficult just because when I'm not on camera or not filming, I like hold the shoe differently, but when I'm filming, I have to do it for the
Right.
angle and stuff. So it's just sometimes too annoying to
Got it.
do. But
So given that you're like one person show and you're doing all these job functions,
Mm-hmm.
and given that a lot of the people that we're interviewing are like entrepreneurial, creative, do you have any advice as far as like keeping yourself organized, structured, and how
Yeah.
you approach your schedule and that kind of stuff?
So, biggest thing for me is writing stuff down because I just work better that way. So I have a calendar, and then I like sticky note each shoe. I have a spreadsheet so I know when I got it, the amount of time I told the person it'll take to get done, and I date it, and then I date the shoe so I know this needs to be done by that date. And that just helps me stay very organized. And then every week I'll go on my calendar and like write, Monday I'm doing this shoe, Wednesday I'm doing this shoe, just so I can keep a schedule and I know that I'm staying on track if I do all of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone like over on the time that you said it would take? And
Yep.
like, what is the reaction from people?
Everybody's been totally fine. I've been very lucky. With the move, it set me back 2 weeks.
Okay.
So originally, everybody was already on that 6 week. It took 8 weeks for some people, but everybody's been very, very lucky.
That's
And if they had
definitely
it, most people don't have a tight deadline. They're just, I tell them 6 weeks, okay. So when I say it'll be a little longer, they're like, no problem.
They probably forget about it.
Yeah, but people who have a set deadline, I've never missed that.
That's honestly like impressive.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like a lot of people, at least like early on to their business, like wouldn't even be able to attain
Yeah.
that. So
I've always been the person, like, it'll eat me alive at night. Like, even in school, if I didn't have homework done or an essay done, like, I can't sleep. So that it plays a big part now. Like, if I know I have a deadline, I'll stay late and I'll go in early just to make sure I get it done.
interesting.
Yeah.
Question: What would you say like your biggest influence is in what you're doing? Like outside influence, whether it's like a person or
Yeah, just a lot of people around me. Like, my mom has her own business, so it's always nice to have that. I always go to her for advice. And I have a lot of, like, people who I've grown up with or I'm associated with now that are involved in so many different things business-wise that I have good people to ask advice for and
Motivate you.
Yeah. I hang around people who are all motivated. I've lost a lot of people in my life because they just they're stuck in different times like that I've already been through. So now I'm focused on working and trying to build a good, comfortable future for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of this is like mindset building. If you were to take away all these experience or like boil down all these experiences and like life in general, do you have any advice or any insight into like big things as far as mindset goes that like keep you driven or things that you've taken away from your experiences?
I would just say surround yourself with like-minded people to keep you on track, and with that they'll know when, like, everybody has bad days. They'll be there to bring you up rather than somebody who just can't relate with you and they're like, what are you talking about, So that definitely plays a big role. And find, like, a stress reliever. Like, if you like to play pool, go play pool. If you like to swim, go swim. Just so you can have a change of pace from...
A release.
Yeah.
Right. And that way, like, whatever your passion, your project is, it doesn't become work to you.
Exactly.
Like, do you feel like what you're doing is work to you?
No.
That's awesome.
I mean, there are certain days where I'm just like, go, 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 and you just get a creative block completely. And that's when that's when I know I'm like, I need to take a day or two off because I'm overworking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like mental health plays a huge part into like the creative's life.
Yeah.
And you really have to like keep that in check or else you go insane.
Especially being like you're an entrepreneur, it's just, you get very doubtful sometimes, and the human mind is just, it takes over sometimes.
Plays tricks on you.
Yeah, and you're like, am I doing this the right way? And it's just, I definitely...
I think that comes back to that ego thing, where you're like constantly needing to control the outcome of everything. That when like something may not necessarily be going the way you think it should go, that like you start to like doubt the whole process. You're just like, oh, it's gonna fucking fall
rather than
apart.
say this is a part of
right.
what's gonna happen. Yeah.
So when you do have those mental blocks, those creative like things that are kind of chaining you back, like what is it that you do to kind of break through those walls?
I talk it out. I talk to people. I talk to my parents, my friends, my family, and they just, like, my mom 100% is like, just always, she's done it. She's been in my shoes. So it's just good to talk it out, because if you keep it bottled in, you're just like, it's just going to keep playing in your head. So I just talk it out.
So she's always there to listen to what you have to say?
Yeah.
What does she do?
I have a lot of people. She does, okay, it's so hard to explain.
Is that a loaded question?
I know, like, title property. So, like, basically when you buy a house, you need the title, you need the mortgage, all the deeds
Right.
and stuff. She does all that stuff.
Paperwork.
And so she started her own like practice for that.
Yeah. So
That's a very interesting
yeah,
place to go.
Breanna Luciani Real Property Service is what it's called. So I can't ever describe it, honestly. It's just like title work. But nobody knows what title work is. That's what she tells me, and that's what I tell people. I worked for her like in different summertime like intervals before, but
Do you know like what made her go in that path
yeah, because she was doing it for so long and
for someone else?
and she's like, I can do this better.
It's kind of like your dad.
Yeah, my dad, he runs his own fire alarm security, like card
awesome.
access and stuff. He worked at Syracuse University for years, like almost my whole life up until, he's almost been doing it for 10 years now, his own business. But yeah, he got let go for kind of stupid reasons, and he's just like a really smart dude. And so he was just like, well, why don't I just do this for like small like accounts and stuff? Like I know how to set up all these things. I've done all these trainings and shit. And yeah, so he's just been working for himself.
That's
and,
awesome.
I mean, we're through a contractor now, so like they get him the bid, like the job bids, and then he goes and does his shit.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's really
That's
dope.
the way to do it. That's
So,
definitely. And my dad's self-employed too, so
oh shit.
yeah, he's a social worker, but he's on a case-by-case thing.
So it really
That's
like runs
interesting.
in your
yeah.
through you. Like, have you always thought like in the back of your mind, like growing up, that like you were gonna just do something on your own as well? Or
Not at all. But working those jobs that I've worked, I've realized like I hate working for people, and half the time I'm like working my hardest and not getting anything in return. And it's like people who are half-assing the job are just like going up, and and it's just like, this is
Isn't that
backwards.
funny how that works?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is so backwards, and I'm not with it. So
I think that's the unsaid benefit when you are an entrepreneur. It's like people talk about the money, the fame, and all this other stuff, but it's just freedom. Like
That's
freedom to
exactly.
do what you want and to get the
Exactly.
returns on the investment of time and energy that you put into it.
I really feel like that's the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even just like having the wife and kids or whatever that like looks like in your life, and
the
like the
American
house
dream,
and
yeah.
like the white picket fence or whatever that bullshit is.
Yeah.
I think it's more just like, because like you're
Financial
saying,
freedom.
financial freedom. Because like, yes, we are free in America, but like,
Right.
are we really free?
Right.
Like, there's all these like little things.
Money
that
rules
pull
everything.
it down. Yeah. So not only having financial freedom, but also having that freedom of not having to like answer to anyone.
Exactly.
Other than yourself.
And if you feel sick, you can just go home and come back and stuff like that. Just like
Right.
if you want to go on vacation, you can go on vacation. You don't have to say how many sick days have I used to,
Right.
like it's just
How does that look like though? Practical, like if you have all these accounts or like all these shoes that you have to fill, orders, like is it realistic to just say I'm going on vacation? Like how
Right.
do you structure that?
Yeah. So for me, I have to plan vacations way ahead of time and know from this date to this day I'm going to be gone. So I'm going to have to get these shoes done beforehand, and then I'll finish these shoes when I get back. So like I have to
okay.
break it down.
So you
I
wouldn't
can't
even
just
like,
go on a spontaneous
yeah.
vacation.
So you wouldn't even straight up be like, hey, I'm not taking orders from this time. You're just like,
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
damn.
I'll take it into account. I never say.
That's a true hustle right
Yeah,
there. 'Cause
I
I feel like
never
some
say-
people don't even have like the discipline to do that.
I know. Yeah, I'm very disciplined, and I owe that to basketball. Like having to be on time every day.
Regimented.
It's a commitment. You can't quit. Stuff like that. So I think that played a huge part in.
But it's worth it,
100%. Yeah, and once you start seeing results, it's like I want to keep doing this.
Right. And like you're again like very early on in the grand scheme of like business in terms of like running what you're doing. So kind of to reiterate what you said before, it's like you're paying the time now so that in the future like you
Right.
could potentially take maybe that longer vacation, go travel or something.
Exactly. And I strongly believe everything happens for a reason, like 100%. And funny story, kind of. So last year, I got a DM from this guy who works for a graphic design company for a very successful CEO. And he wanted a pair of shoes to give to his boss, who is the CEO, because he was celebrating 5 years of sobriety and all this other stuff.
Nice.
So I did the shoes. the guy, Russ Perry is his name, he loved them, absolutely loved them. He followed me, has been following me since. Back in May, he invited me to speak at his conference, which is for creative entrepreneurs. It's huge. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Shit. That's
And
awesome.
it's called PickleCon because the company's Design Pickle.
Oh, I see their ads all the time.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I see their ads all the time.
They're huge on branding. So he invited me to speak. I unfortunately didn't even make it. I was planning 100% to go. We got to the airport, and that's when those huge storms were happening. There was a red line across the whole U.S. of travel ban, and we just couldn't make it. It was directly across, so from here to Arizona, we could not make it, and we would have gotten stuck in Chicago. So I was so bummed. I'm like, this is like the biggest opportunity I've had, this and that, and then everything comes full circle. So he reached out to me, and he was like, I know it's been a crazy summer. I wanted to tell you this when you came to PickleCon, but I really want to, like, be your mentor. And he is very successful, like, crazy successful. So I'm pretty much in good hands with him now, which I just think it's...
You actively communicating.
Exactly, and I've done work for him now and the guy who put me in touch with him, and I don't know, I just thought it's a cool full circle moment, and who's to know what comes of this, but for a very successful CEO to offer his services and mentorship for free, it's just like a dream come true.
That's like the ideal. Like, I know a lot of like entrepreneurship, just like media, text, whatever I've like consumed, like finding a mentor is like a huge building block. And that's something like I've personally like haven't had the luxury of like finding yet. But
and it's funny because I've always felt like I've
you weren't even seeking it.
No, but I've always felt like I've gotten like the short end of the stick for everything.
Yeah.
Like all these people who are in the same position as me are all over the place, and it's like, what did I do wrong? And then this comes along, and I'm like,
Granted, you've only been for 2 years.
Right. Not even.
You're already getting these.
Yeah, so I'm very excited.
Big successes.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where this goes, but it's
really,
definitely
that's really
it's
exciting.
huge. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Wow.
I know.
Cool.
That's cool. You've heard of that company.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in digital marketing, so like I know they do graphic design and shit, but like also I mean, I'm sure you know when you speak in front of your phone about anything, it picks
pops
up.
up. Yeah, it's
so
creepy.
like I mean, Kyle and I talk about graphic design work and all this
so
stuff.
the ad's just like, hey, I do that.
Wait, so if you're taking a video of yourself or something like that, your phone can register that?
No, it's not even that. I'm saying like
Facebook
right now.
listens to you.
Right now, my phone has been listening to our
Like,
entire conversation.
We're gonna talk about microwaves right now. You're gonna
Yeah,
go on.
like,
He's gonna go on
literally.
tonight, and an ad for a microwave will go on.
What?
Like my clients I work on at work, I get served their ads because I'm talking about their work while I'm at work.
It's so
I'm getting
creepy.
like random dealerships and stuff. I'm like, I'm not even looking for a car right now, and you're giving me your ad.
Yeah.
Granted, you're in Rochester too, so like, why the hell would I even be going to Rochester to buy a car from you? But like, it's just that shit. So it's fucked.
That's why a lot of people have been not using like the Alexas anymore because
Sketchy.
yeah, there's these videos that people recorded of like a green light coming on and somebody from like India talking like, I can see you, like creepy, like somebody hacked their Google thing, and it's just like,
I'm never gonna get a voice assistant.
no.
And like, it's fucked up because so I do SEO. And so for me, it's like the future of SEO is moving towards like, how can we optimize content for voice? Because like, how is that gonna like help generate more sales for people? And luckily, none of my clients are trying to go down that route, and it doesn't make sense for a lot of them. But it's still like, shit, I would be playing into that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to.
No, it's creepy. It's really creepy.
The thing is, we say that we're not going to get into it, but it's inevitable. Like, we're going to get tied into it because there might be a social media platform that's all voice activated. Who knows?
Voice is interesting though. I mean, maybe I'm just naive and I don't see like the upside to it, but like I feel like it's very limited in what it can offer. Because at the end of the day, like
unless your
voice
house
isn't
is
gonna
not
serve
on
you
it.
all of like the resources you need to when you're like doing research on something or you're trying to like shop an item, like you're still gonna need like a screen involved, and there's still like other aspects.
And there's too much room for error because you can't correctly hear.
But what if it's one of those things where it's integrated into like some virtual reality? And so you have your headset on, and you have to use voice-activated stuff to be able to like operate the
I feel like in video games they might do that. Yeah.
I think voice is gonna be more useful outside of like internet stuff, more in like day-to-day stuff, like
demands
whether
and
it's like
stuff.
your house is like a voice-activated, like certain things like turn on the
Smart
dishwasher.
house.
Yeah,
Do you remember that movie?
like Disney Channel. Yeah, that shit's crazy.
Yeah, and she locked him in.
Yeah, I mean,
Backfired.
It's insane that these movies happen, but then like
Then it
we're
happens.
slowly going in that route. Yeah.
What movie did I watch last night? It's called Selfless. It's on Netflix right now.
Okay.
And basically the idea is this dude, he was this like multimillionaire, and he was about to die. And so what he did was he transferred his consciousness into another body, and it was a body from another family that like lived half his life basically. And so like when his consciousness got shifted over, he had his own consciousness, but then he was like going back to like the life of the person that was already living, and then it just got real messy.
Well, yeah, because he like basically took that dude's life over.
Yeah.
That's
While
more like,
the dude was still in it.
Well, sort of.
were they like
So it's like
sharing? Were they
two
sharing
brains in
consciousness?
one.
Yeah, so that kind of was what concluded. But basically he had to take pills to like suppress the real consciousness, the other person's consciousness.
Jesus.
That sounds good though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that.
He's like, oh, I do that too. That's fun.
Live forever.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's just a weird stuff. I wanted to mention this because I just thought it was like cool, like small world type thing. So the reason I reached out originally for you specifically, because like prior to this story I'm about to tell, I'm not like in the sneaker world, so I just would have never like made that connection. You were in the Post Standard.
Yeah.
And my mom sent me like put it on my bed or something. She's like, you should reach out to her. And this is the first time my mom's like ever like tried to get involved with our podcast or like anything. I don't even think they listen to it. But she just knows that we're like looking for like local, I mean just like anyone to talk to really. And I was like, okay. And I took it serious kind of, but like no offense to you, but like I just saw it and I was like super busy at the time. So I was like, yeah, sure, cool, thanks mom. And then
to the side.
We kind of like got to this point where like the list of people that we had talked to was like kind of running down. We're like, oh, who are we gonna reach out to? And I was like, wait a second, my mom gave me the newspaper like a couple weeks ago. And then I went and I read the article and I was like, oh shit, yeah, okay, 100%. So I reached out and then you didn't answer for a couple weeks.
Because you reached out on my personal, which I never go on.
And I had, obviously I had no idea. But then you answered and I was like, oh shit, all right. So like, I don't know, just.
I was like, oh my God,
really
I'm so
funny.
sorry.
I
hardly ever go on.
I mean, a lot of the times we reach out and people respond, but I mean, we've had times where people don't say anything. So it's not like it would have been like a big deal if you didn't. But I'm glad that.
Yeah, me too. This has been fun.
We ended up like, what do we have for time, Kyle?
2 hours.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Good shit.
Fucking flies.
Yeah, this has been a really
I know how to talk.
solid flow. It's been nice.
I used to always get in trouble in school. If you go back to any of my report cards from kindergarten till senior year,
Disrupting class.
talks too much in class.
Yeah, I'm saying that's so funny.
All the time. I'm like, wouldn't you rather me be like this than like socially awkward and not talking? I would say that I would just say that like.
And because of your talking skills. You've created a brand for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, see?
I mean, it makes sense now why you ended up gravitating towards communications at the end of college. What was your... Because I also, I dual majored in marketing and communications.
Mm-hmm.
What part of communications do you feel like you benefited from most?
It's funny because I didn't even realize what communications was until, like, my last semester. Like, my teachers were so... like vague with it that I feel like I didn't even understand what I was doing. Like, and they were all group projects, so it's like I don't know what I'm doing. These people do, okay, and that's like the worst thing to do because I love to be involved and like take charge and stuff. But I had no idea. But what I really loved was that it was not really tests, it was all essays and stuff, and I'm a very strong writer. So I just literally just wrote, and I had this one teacher my final semester who was amazing, and he made me like fully understand what I was doing, and there was a purpose, like different research methods and all these different algorithms to put into essays that he just made it really like fun for me. So
What was that purpose?
I don't know now, but I knew
At
back
the time,
then.
yeah.
Yeah, it did, and I just like I did my senior thesis on the Black Lives Matter movement and how technology has evolved to the point that it's making this like prejudice and whatever be more like people are more aware of it. And because of the body cameras and because of people taking videos on their cell phones, that people are more aware of the police brutality that's happening and stuff like that. So it was just a fun, interesting essay to do for me.
Now,
Senior
any of
thesis.
those things that you've learned in college, do you use any of them in your day-to-day?
Probably.
now?
I wouldn't be able to say what, but probably. Definitely what sticks out the most is just the amount of people I've met and connections I've made.
I want to hit on just like the communications thing, just like being able to relate, because I think this is an issue with communications, and I don't think that you went into communications because of this reason, but a lot of people. So I went to Albany, and a lot of people picked communications as their major because it was deemed as easy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it wasn't easy
and
for
I'm like,
me.
and the funniest thing was that most of the people in these classes sucked at communication.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys don't know how to communicate with each other.
No, and it wasn't an easy thing.
Yeah.
Everybody, still to this day, there's that stigma that it's like easy,
Yeah.
and I'm like, where?
And then they get like upset when things are difficult to do, and I'm like, yeah. So it was funny because similar to you, I'm very outgoing and a good communicator. So to be surrounded by a lot of people that weren't great communicators, trying to be a professional in communication, I was like,
are
I'm
you doing?
confused. Yeah, well, then they group you with people who are bad at communicating, and you're communicating with them on a project, and they're not communicating back, and you're like, this is the whole, like,
And
maybe
it brings
that,
you down.
even that's a lesson in itself. It's like, maybe you shouldn't be doing this,
Right.
or you should be, like, figuring out how to be a better communicator in, like, this one instance. Like,
Did you have a lot of group projects?
most of my communication classes were
Same.
group projects,
Yeah.
and I had one teacher similar to you. I took 2 classes with him.
Me too.
And I took his second class because his first one was so good.
Me too.
But the first one was a radio class, and that's why like podcasting became a thing.
Oh, cool.
Because the final project was making a podcast episode, and like you had to like on your own figure out how to do the whole. Like he didn't tell us how to do it. He's like, you can do it however you want, but you have to record a full-length episode of whatever like idea you guys come up with in your group. You have to record it and then post it so that somewhere where people can listen to it. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's on SoundCloud somewhere.
That's
People can
awesome.
still listen to it, but it was like cool because not only did you have to like do the podcast, but you also had to like, how are we going to make this happen?
Right.
And so I ended up like, I was like, oh, I have a friend who has like recording equipment. I was like, I'm going to hit him up to help us out. And like, so he like set up like a mic, and he was using some like recording software on his computer. And then we went to his dorm room, like all this stuff. So I was like kind of doing that networking thing and trying to make it happen. But basically what happened was all of the people in my group let me do all the work. And then they just were like being useless,
That's how
but they
it goes,
showed
yeah.
up for the podcast. They did the speaking part, and that was like end of transaction for
and
them.
you all get the same grade.
Well, this is what made me.
Okay,
this is
good.
what made me like my teacher. At the end, he left, like room where you could like kind of review like how not even how your group was, but just in general like what you feel about group work and blah blah, like what he could do better with his class. And that literally was like straight up like, if you're gonna do group projects, you should let people pick the people in their group, because I literally, and I just shot all of them down. I was like, I don't even give a
have
shit.
to, yeah.
I was like, I literally did all the work. I did like 95% of the work here. And I was like, unfortunately, like you've probably already like given them a grade. Well, actually, no, I think part of it was based on the grade, like what I said.
Okay.
And like, part of me felt bad for like oh,
Throwing them
why are
under the
you being
bus.
that kid to like
Right.
narc on them? But I was
No,
also
but-
like, dude, I did all that work on top of the fact that I had 3 other projects to do,
Exactly,
team
yeah.
projects that I was like responsible for, and I had to like focus on a fucking podcast. Like
Right.
something that to me should be super simple, right? We're
Yeah.
sitting down doing this and like it's not a hard process, but those people made it a hard process
Yeah.
for me. And
That's
so,
why I hated group work.
but luckily he took that into consideration, and I took his advertising class that was based on like more like traditional advertising, but kind of talking about like why advertising works and like all of the nuances of like persuasion and all this stuff. But he allowed us to like pick our partners and stuff after.
Oh, good.
Where I was like, thank God.
Right.
And even in that, like I picked people and I still ended up doing more work than I should have. But like at least it was better than
Yeah.
the initial.
That's the one thing about communications that I
Yeah.
did not like was the group work.
But yeah, he was like the one teacher who he actually gave a shit because he saw I gave a shit. So
I
don't
think
know,
there's
very
something to be
interesting.
said about project-based learning, and that like from both of your experiences, when you actually like put thoughts to action and carry out this experience or whatever it is that you're doing in practical means, that's when you learn the most.
Yeah,
Sitting in a lecture hall
100%.
and just fucking learning
Yeah.
from the teacher
Yeah. More
speaking is just
hands-on.
like it's not registering really.
yeah. That's why like classes like finance and accounting and like those things were like all like test based, and I can't. I'm not a
Yeah.
test taker. I'm
Me
like a
either.
project. Yeah, like I need to do something where I get to be creative, and
yep.
then present it afterwards.
Exactly.
And that's where that communication comes in.
Yeah.
Presentation skills afterwards. Like
A bunch of public speaking.
that shit was my jam.
Yeah.
Just like public speaking.
Yeah,
Like,
people hate it, but it's like,
I love it.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think and the more you do it, the better you get. So then you're just like, oh.
It's a craft.
Yeah.
You know,
I would
something
love
you
to
can
get
always
in
get
front of
better
people and
at.
just talk about whatever.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it's fun. And that's why I like what Kyle and I are doing is that I'm able to use that skill in whatever
Right.
way possible. I don't even feel like I've tapped into full potential of what it could be.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Can't have it all
definitely
at
is.
once,
Yeah.
right?
And you experience all these different people, so it's cool.
Yeah. And like you use your communication skills in the networking way to like
To get
create
clients,
clientele.
yeah. Yep.
Outside of like getting clients and like doing projects for people's like shoes, like what other avenues do you think you could take your business?
Doing like classes and stuff.
Yeah,
for-
just like what like things you could like
No, that's
add
what I'm
to
saying,
it.
like,
yeah, okay.
I would do like classes
On,
to
like,
teach
how to
people.
start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Art classes, stuff like that. I would like to do. I haven't really thought too much about that because again, like I don't feel like I've fulfilled enough
Right.
yet to think what else can I do yet, you know?
Got it.
Kind of have to build out what you already have.
Yeah. And then see what comes. I'm sure something will
Yeah.
come like in my head. I'll be
Right.
like, oh, I can do this from this, you know?
So I'm thinking, because you're saying classes, I'm thinking something like, also I think the future of college is
Dying.
coming. I think college is going to be completely reinvented.
I do too.
And I think like
And high school.
you're starting to see it now with like, oh, now I can be like I can get my major in like cannabis.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah,
that's
they're
a
doing
thing.
that now.
Like imagine like shoe design, like,
Right.
or just stuff like specific.
Yeah,
and-
very
and that
specific.
stuff.
And I feel like in high school they should start. I forgot what country it was that I was reading about it. They are very, like in middle school you start picking,
The
like
stuff you like.
yeah, and then throughout high school they start gearing you towards different careers, so that when you get to college you are like, okay, this is what I
So
want
that
to do.
makes sense that why you're going to
Yeah,
college.
right now it's like middle school is fun and games. High school, you're taking classes because you're told you have to take them. And then college, you have to figure it out. When you have 4 years of college and then you're in the real world. So that's why so many people are just so lost when they get out of college if they aren't a doctor or they aren't a lawyer. If they aren't something specialized like that, it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I also think it's a personal responsibility for you to like go out of
Right.
your way to if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Is like have the self-awareness to really delve into these different interests. But the
Yeah.
thing is, school doesn't teach you how you do that.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
Like
you
But
get
there should
sucked
literally
in.
be a class on just like self-development.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there should.
And like we don't even have that. That's the thing. It's like
I feel like there's
like-
a formula to it
right.
too.
It's like on one hand, yes, like the individual shouldn't be like looking for other people to like help like show them the way. Like at some point you kind of have to take responsibility for your own life and like
Right.
figure it out. But again, like on the other hand, as a 16-year-old in like a sophomore in high school, like you're not even like old enough to really like on your own think
Right.
like, oh, I should be like starting like self-development. Like
But if
some
they
people
started
do it.
early enough, then
Right.
you will be aware.
And just
but
planting the seed
Yeah.
as a young person to
Yeah.
be like, you should be thinking more in depth. I mean, obviously to a level where they'll understand, but like thinking more about like working on themselves.
Yeah.
It's hard also, like behaviorally as a young child, it's hard
exactly.
to tell a young child who barely understands how the world works to be
Right.
like, you should work on yourself.
Right.
I think coming from a sports background, that's kind of a way to get people into that kind of thinking, that mindset.
Because it's something that
growing
they can
up.
work on to become better at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe that's the thing, just getting children to get into things, find things they like, and then start like
Yeah.
kind of giving them the resources to develop that.
Exactly.
And then over time, they'll kind of, you can start planting that seed when they hit that level of maturity.
Right.
And that's the beauty of like entrepreneur work, is
It's
by
all
being
self-development.
an entrepreneur, you have to really like be aware and understand what's happening in the world at large or in the community or whatever target market that's going on, and you get to see all these different things and how everything is like playing into one another, and you get that like big picture point of view,
Right.
as opposed to like when you're going to school, you're just going day in and day out and not really being mindful about why you're doing what you're
Right.
doing.
There's no like purpose really.
Yeah.
You're just doing stuff to get a grade, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know about, well, I mean, you said you changed your major a bunch, so I'm assuming you came into college not really like fully knowing what
Yeah.
you said architecture obviously, but then it kind of got messed up.
Yeah.
I don't know about you specifically because I know you changed your major, but like I feel like personally lucky because I was like in like the honors classes and stuff, and everyone's taking like AP physics and AP, I don't know, European history and like all these
Right.
things. And instead I said, I don't want to take physics. I don't want to take AP. I don't want to take any of those my senior year. I just took business classes because I
Yeah.
didn't take those classes at all. And then that's what like made me go to school for business.
Yeah, that's good.
So like, it was just like a random like, maybe I should do this because I don't like any of this. And
Right.
even though I was like good at like history and stuff, I didn't know what I would do with it.
I was terrible at history.
So yeah.
That was
damn,
not my
that
thing.
sucks.
Yeah, but luckily I did take college classes in high school, which is why I still
It
was
helped
able.
you, yeah.
I was able to graduate on time with switching my major so much.
Right.
So-
Yeah. That was nice. I did take some college classes, so it did put me ahead
Yeah.
in terms of
I was a whole
but-
semester ahead going into college, which was nice.
wow.
Yeah.
So what about you, Kyle? Because I'm curious. Just now that
Yeah,
we're
what
on this
about
topic, like you went to school for engineering.
Yeah, chemical
And
engineering.
then-
Well,
Did you?
mechanical engineering first, and then I switched to chemical engineering because I wanted to get into pharmaceuticals, and I saw how corrupt the pharmaceutical industry was, and so that kind of deterred me away from chemical engineering. And then I was like, fuck engineering altogether. I was only going because I wanted to play soccer. I was at Clarkson.
Oh, okay.
It's a good engineering school. So I took a step back, ended up dropping out of Clarkson, took a year off to have that like personal development, got into different interests, and then I ended up getting my EMT certification,
Oh, nice.
and then that led me to wanting to do nursing. So I went to Binghamton, got my RN, and now I'm working as a nurse full time
Awesome.
and doing this at the same time.
And he did this, and even taking that year off, he still graduated on time.
On time, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Which is
crazy.
absurd.
That's crazy. But that goes back to ambition. If
Yeah.
you want to do it, you'll do it.
Mhm.
That's really good. So what hospital are you at?
I'm doing outpatient work.
Oh, cool.
So I'm at Helio Health in
Oh, nice.
Syracuse. So I didn't want to go down the hospital route because I sort of, when I was in school interning and stuff like that, I saw how taxing that is, like
A
mentally.
lot of like long hours.
Emotional.
Yeah, very long. Like you're always on call pretty much, right?
Yeah, and I knew this is what I wanted to do full time eventually, was boho hobo and build this brand. And so even though I was doing nursing, I wanted to have a good balance.
Yeah.
And I felt like outpatient
Yeah.
work was that good balance.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I enjoy it.
And I would say, like, as like an outside perspective, it definitely, now that never even thought about it, but like if you were working in a hospital, I feel like that could have been like a stressor on like the entire brand just by your like not being able to like be as present all the time because you would have to work those long hours and like so it's interesting how that like plays out. And I guess it kind of comes back to that like everything kind of happens for a reason type thing.
100%. That's what this tattoo is in Arabic though.
Nice.
Why a different language?
I just love different cultures. So I just love the way this looks, just the script of it, and then this is Hebrew.
What's that?
Patience. Yep.
What else you got here? You have a
hieroglyphic sunrise, meaning like you always gotta go
rising
up.
above.
Always have faith. I don't have anything over there. Got my ribs done with my parents' initials, birth dates, and then a mother-daughter tattoo, palm tree, and my birth year. And an Italian horn over here.
You have the key as well.
Oh, I knew I had something else on this arm. I'm like, where is it?
It's hiding.
Yeah. That just, keys represent curiosity, so.
Unlock the door for a new opportunity.
I
got
like
a nice
that.
vintage key. I feel like I'm missing something.
It's so interesting to me because my parents are very like, I mean, me and my brothers, like, we all have tattoos, but they're very traditional, so, like, they don't understand it. But I was like, I feel like there's like a spectrum when it comes to, there's a spectrum when it comes to anything, but tattoos, it's like, some people get really just trashy tattoos and they cover themselves with things they regret. But then there's also, like, what you did, which is, like, very tasteful, like, you have meanings behind all of them, and you're probably going to cherish having those because they're reminders to you.
Exactly.
Because like you said, you're like a visual person, like writing things down, remembering.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. It's a good way to express yourself too. So.
Yeah. Do you ever think about getting tattoos, Kyle?
You don't have any?
I'm on that all natural grind.
That's fair.
That's how my dad is.
I mean, I respect it. Like, I'm not ever someone to be like, you should get a tattoo.
Get a tattoo now.
But it's kind of like, it's also true, like, once you get one, it's like,
they're addicting.
You want to just keep getting them.
They are.
Because then you're like, well, he wants a friend. It's like getting a cat, and then you end up like 7.
If I were to get one, I would probably just tattoo my whole arm. I love that.
Go big or go home.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
I'm like strategic. I'm being strategic about it. I'm kind of like saving up my money right now because where I'm working now is like my first like. I had one job in Burlington that I was telling you about. I was working doing what I'm doing now, but it was more like I was an apprentice, so I was making less money.
Yeah.
But it was still full time. But I was making like $12 an hour or something like that. And so now this is my first like salary job.
Oh wow,
so,
that's really good.
And I got it like. To kind of, I haven't really like told this story, but on here at least, basically there was 3 full-time people in the position, SEO strategist, and I was the SEO associate because I was the apprentice. But they basically were telling me I was going to get hired full-time, but then at the end, so I was there for 5 months. By the end, they were like, maybe we don't have enough work to have 4 of you. And they kind of like told me way too late, where like I wasn't preparing that this was going to be the end of the apprenticeship and like I was gonna have to figure it out. I was just assuming like everything they were telling me I was gonna say. And so basically they told me, nope, like we're not keeping you. And they told me like the last week I was there. So like
wow,
my lease was about to be up. I was about to like sign a lease with people who worked there. Like my life just got, everything happens for a reason, right? I started looking for jobs. Like they let me go on, they told me that they were gonna let me go on the Monday of my last week. And they're like, you can work the rest of the week, but you have to have, like, a good attitude if you're going to be here. And I was like, fuck, no. I didn't say that, but I was just like, no, like, I'm not coming back. Second day of job searching, I applied for my job at Digital Hive. And within...
I've heard of Digital Hive.
Yeah, we're in Clinton Square. We do work on a lot of local businesses.
They do design stuff, too, right?
Yeah, we do graphic design. We do website design, SEO... paid advertising and like organic like copy. So like it's basically a full service like marketing agency. But I applied online, which they weren't job posting on like Indeed or any of that stuff. I went on their website because I had been following them. Good branding, right? And I was like, oh, this is local, and I didn't want to come back to Syracuse, but I was like having trouble finding jobs in Burlington. Applied within like 4 hours. I got a reply back that they were interested. I set up like a phone call or whatever, and after the phone call went really well, like that day they called me back like an hour later, and they're like, "Can you come in for like an in-person interview?"
It's always a good sign.
And I was like, "Well, shit, I guess I'm gonna like potentially be moving back home because it felt good and it was happening so quick." Comes to find out, the person in my position now was put their 2 weeks in at the same time that I got let go, and they were like,
they need to fill it fast.
So when she started, the department itself was still new, still kind of figuring itself out. We're only I think 5-year-old company, so it was still like figuring itself out, and basically she started as had no SEO background at all, was like applying for like different positions and like, well, maybe you'll be good in this position. And so by the time she had been there for a year and a half, like I have like 30 something clients. They were like, we can't just give this to anyone.
Wow.
Right? Like we can't just like hire someone who has no idea what they're doing and then have them do work on 30 clients. Like they're going to fuck it up.
Right.
So they were like freaking out, and literally within like 2 or 3 days of her telling them that she was leaving, they found like I applied.
Wow.
So it's just like
that's crazy.
Shit, just like whoop.
Like
so
perfect. Yeah.
So it's just
that's
insane.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's funny how things work out. Yeah. Like one door closes and you're like, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
And then.
But to bring that back to tattoos, which is really fun.
I know. We go on all these tangents.
Because I'm living at home for the moment, because I got like thrown into like the wild basically, and I was in Burlington. I was like, well, I can't stay here. I need to go home for the time being. I'm saving a lot more money because I'm not paying rent, all this stuff. But I'm thinking like I've been thinking about like tattoos, and I really want to do kind of like similar to what you're doing, like with meaningful tattoos.
Yeah.
But I want to collage my arm, at least this arm to start, but like smaller pieces that are slightly spaced apart instead of like a big like mural, like many different ones.
Like a mosaic.
Yeah, just a bunch of things that all have like very like sentimental
cool.
meanings to me. Yeah.
I like small tattoos. That's why I got like the mini lion.
Yeah. Plus it's like more cost efficient.
Definitely.
I can get like 2 to 3 for the same price as like one giant
big
one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll probably like multiple more than just the one big one. So
there's more variation to it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's just a
I
conglomerate
only have
of
2
memories.
right now. I have this DNA
Is that
tattoo.
gray? Did they use gray?
Yeah, they use gray, white, and black.
Yeah, they use gray for mine too.
I love
I like gray.
the difference, So this one's
like more
DNA
elegant.
for my brothers and I, from oldest to youngest, Dave, Nick, Andy.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
the 3 of us all got them on like different parts.
that's
and
cool.
then this is just like a cool like
Yeah, that's cool.
mountain scene. I like the geometry behind it and everything.
Did you get them done in Syracuse?
This one was done in Chicago, and this one was done in Albany.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to go back to this artist. He's in Denver now. I'm thinking of like doing like a weekend, just fly out like using Frontier or something and go to a shop and get a new piece. Because he's like just like a really, really good like
Yeah,
artist.
it's good to stick to certain ones too.
Yeah, because they tend to be like the themes behind their art.
Yeah, and it's always nice to just know that you already know how they
yeah,
are, so it's
exactly.
like you'll get something good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we're going on a lot of tangents.
Yeah, we are.
This
2.5 hours. Like a really good combo.
Yeah,
So.
hell yeah. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Is there anything that you want to leave us like last?
Anything we didn't hit on?
Or...
No, I think we definitely hit on everything. It was fun.
Yeah.
Very organic.
I want to ask this because you haven't asked this in the last few, but like this is like a question that Kyle likes to ask, but I'm gonna ask it now because I thought of it.
Switch it up.
And we like to end it with this before we kind of sign things off. And we'll plug your stuff after this, but what does it mean to you to be human?
Wow. I would just say you're given one shot at life, and what you do from the time you're born to the time you're gone that's being a human. Like, as much as you can do in that time, that is being human.
Make the most of it.
Yeah, definitely make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's potential in everything. Like, there's no limits. So everybody is gifted life, and it's what you do with it that separates you from everybody else.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we sign off, why don't you plug? This is your chance to plug your Instagram, your website, anything that's coming up for you that you want to like share with people.
Yeah.
Where they can find you basically, and then like any last thoughts or whatever you want to share with people.
Instagram, Laced by _Liv. Twitter, Laced by _Liv. And then lacedbyliv.com. But I would say let's not do that actually because it's being reworked. And YouTube, Laced by Liv. So everything's just Laced by Liv. You can just type in Laced by Liv, L-I-V.
You'll show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing like specific in the works right now, but I'm sure there will be at some point.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks. Thanks for, again.
Thank you
like
for
I said,
having
thanks
me.
for
Yeah.
fucking answering the DM. The world
The
of
hidden
DMing.
DM,
Yeah,
yeah.
the hidden DMs. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome time.
Hell yeah.
You should have told me to do that. I would have done it.
All right,
Wait,
3, 2, 1. So there you have it. Thanks again for tuning in to Bindlism, a philosophy to self-sufficient lifestyle. Be sure to explore other episodes of Bindlism on our Spotify and Apple podcast. You can find more Boho Hobo stuff on Instagram and Twitter at boho_hobo_, as well as on our Facebook page at Boho Hobo Lifestyle. It'd also be dope if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Our YouTube channel has more episodes from Bindlism in video form, along with other random shenanigans that we're up to. We're constantly filming new experiences, so it's one way you guys can stay up to date with us in our journey.
Before we get going here, I just wanted to ask a little favor of everyone who's listening. We need more reviews. It's as simple as going down to the review section and picking a 1 through 5 stars, and then leaving a little blurb about what you like or don't like about the podcast. Kyle and I really thrive on getting that feedback from the listeners, so the more feedback we get, the better the podcast can be. Last thing before we go, we have a festival coming up on the first week of October. It is called Crafted 2. It's being run by Wildflowers Syracuse and Rail Line Syracuse. These are two really cool brands putting on some really dope events in the city of Syracuse, and we hopped along the train to get into this festival. It's going to be a bunch of bands and over 100 vendors downtown Syracuse in Armory Square from the 5th and 6th of October. And it's going to be a really dope event, so come check that out.
So yeah, I guess that's it for now. Until next time. Peace.